chief sports writer for the Daily Telegraph, and he's in Doha, where he was not astonished to hear that news.
Not particularly surprised, I must say. I did think this was gesture politics from the get-go. We have to recall that just 10, 11 days ago, when Gareth Southgate made the squad announcement, he was adamant neither he nor his team were going to be muzzled by FIFA. And when the first challenge came, England just capitulated. This is a FIFA fiefdom, if you like, and what Gianni Infantino's word is law. I mean, whenever he goes around Doha, what FIFA says goes, I'm afraid, within the World Cup.
He points to real signs of courage this week in Qatar, particularly that of the Iranian team, whose players refused to sing the country's national anthem, an act of support for the protests taking place across Iran. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
To recap our top stories, numerous Ukrainian cities were left without power for most of Thursday after Russia fired a barrage of missiles at power generation facilities. The Polish government has asked Germany to further support Ukraine with air defense missiles. The Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda have signed a deal to end months of fighting between Congolese forces and rebels of the M23 group. And UK businesses and unions are urging the government not to scrap a range of European Union laws. That's the latest feature story news. Chris Jones reporting.
In order to more accurately portray the risks of smoking, the FDA has approved putting a picture of Trish on the cover of all cigarette packs. Clinical trials suggest that images of diseased organs, corpses, and deformed infants all prove less effective than a single photograph of Trish smiling. Smokers can expect to see the graphic campaign as early as next month, paired with a simple line of text that reads, "Cigarettes cause Trish." In Science News, a new study finds that every style of parenting inevitably produces disturbed and miserable adults.
Despite a great variance in parenting styles across populations, from overprotective to permissive, the end product is always the same, a profoundly flawed and joyless human being.
One bright note of the study, adults can find temporary happiness when they're able to perpetuate the cycle of human misery by having children. In other news, the Pulitzer Board adds a giant pumpkin category, and a local man's utter failure in life is a bit of a sore spot. For more news, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, the live Turkey Day episode of the show. Gobble, gobble, indeed. Welcome to it. Phones are open as always, and yes, we are here in the studio, and we will talk to you about whatever you want to discuss. Lockdowns are coming back big time in China. 400 million people estimated under lockdowns there now, so it never ended. But it lightened a little bit over the summer, and now it's getting much worse.
Yeah, because lockdowns in China aren't the same as lockdowns here in the United States.
No, they're much worse there. We can talk about that with you tonight. It's Ian.
And Joa.
And Arya.
But it is Thanksgiving Day, and we are, by the way, just as a reminder, here throughout the holidays. So every day, whether it be Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, New Year's Day, today, we're here live, bringing you live content. Open phones as always, so you can participate in the show, share your thoughts with us, because you know what? People are still out there, especially on Thanksgiving when there's actually a fair number of people traveling. There's people listening to the radio on Thanksgiving, so we're here for you.
And I have to say, the Christmas Eve and Christmas Day shows, they're some of the most fun for me because there's just such a different vibe on those days.
I think we can kind of cover different things. And so we've got a story here tonight, Arya, to start things out that's kind of timely. As far as Black Friday, of course, is
fun.
Tomorrow. And do you think Black Friday is fun?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's fun to watch the videos afterwards.
You mean of like the fights?
Oh yeah, people scrambling to get their half-off mattress, or
South Park did by far the best take on Black Friday that anyone will ever do. I mean, they did a 3-part series. It was leading up to their video game, The Stick of Truth, ultimately, and it was masterfully done in the way that South Park alone can do stuff. But it's disgusting watching how human beings behave toward one another over 50% off on televisions or whatever, putting just cheap consumer electronics over the well-being of people who are literally right in front. I expect this sort of behavior on the internet in words, but they go beyond that, and they as far as I can tell, Black Friday is where people become who they are online. At least
can really
temporarily.
see the sort of the animal instincts that people truly have. I mean, society, we're not that far away from literally throwing poop at one another, right? Like we're.
Yeah, I'm not nowhere near that, Ian.
I'm not saying you are. I'm
thank
saying
you.
as a society, people are not that far away. I mean, I'm sorry, we think we're the best thing since sliced bread or whatever, and there's people are definitely at the top of the food chain. There's no doubt about it. But the animal instincts of the human have not gone far underneath the patina of
They're not, and
civility.
there's a lot of childishness out there. I remember after Trump won the election in 2016, some upset liberal wrote, F Trump in their own feces in their bathroom. And more recently,
Why would
Makes sense.
Does it?
Yeah, it really stinks.
Why would you do it in your own bathroom?
Why would
No,
you
I'm
do
just
it with that writing utensil? But more recently, I saw the same thing because I thought then, I was like, oh my God, this is completely deranged. How insane do you have to be to literally play in your own poop?
It's disgusting.
But more recently, I saw a hunter had done the same thing using droppings found in the woods that belonged to, I don't remember what sort of animal
He
it
also
was.
wrote F Trump?
No, he did the same for Biden.
Oh,
I think
okay.
he wrote "Let's Go Brandon" with it.
Gross.
That made me aware. I thought this sort of insanity was, that peculiar insanity was unique to the left. But no, you have Biden derangement syndrome. That's
Would
every bit.
he write that on a tree?
No, he wrote it on the ground.
Well,
That's
see,
not as bad. But.
If anything, he might be just strategy to hunt a deer, like spreading the scent a little bit.
Well, I mean, he stacked it. You know how people write SOS on a beach with stones?
Yeah.
He did that.
Oh, yeah.
But it didn't say SOS.
So he went
and it was
around and
droppings.
collected dung from different animals or whatever to do that?
It all seemed to be the same animal, but I can only imagine how much time it took for a person to do that. It's like,
Sure. Well, deer produce enough in one pile for you to be able to do something like that. So
I don't know.
But why would someone play in it to that extent? It's like,
I agree.
okay,
It's kind of weird.
If you hate Biden that much or you hate his politics that much, fine. But there's no need to play with cow droppings or whatever they were.
So we've
bizarre.
been over
People
the
are weird,
years
man.
here on Free Talk Live, we've looked at Black Friday as this sort of amazing phenomenon that it is, and I have participated in it on occasion over the years. Not like insane level participation of pushing and shoving or whatever, but just going out and participating. And I remember the last time I did it was. Like the last time I did it at opening time, it's been more than probably 15 years because it was in Florida that I did that there. I would have no interest in standing in a line for God knows how long in the freezing cold temperatures in New England to do the same thing. So, but just to kind of experience what the intensity, the fervor of it, the how people get along with one another, and for the most part, people were pretty decent where I was. Like it was. Not pushing and shoving, and people were friendly to one another, and there was just sort of like an overall festive atmosphere outside of the stores where people were waiting to get in. So I think there's a large range of kind of reactions to this, and of course, obviously the most violent and vicious videos are the ones that get passed around, right? If people are behaving themselves, that's not going to likely go viral.
I'm actually surprised to hear this. I've never done any of the Black Friday stuff, but I imagine in my head as something similar to a rock concert of people pushing their way toward the crowd, pushing one another out of their way, not necessarily being violent, but being very forceful about making their way to the front. And I assumed that's more or less what Black Friday would be like.
I was watching this TikTok video, short, and this guy's like, expert mode, you go the day before and you hide all the things you want in a washer or dryer. And then so when you go in, you don't have to worry about
Make
the stuff
a beeline
not being
for
there.
that spot. That's a smart move.
Yeah.
Or you shop online and skip all of it. That's what I do.
Yeah, you
and
could
it
do that
seems to
too.
work just fine.
Boring. I want to throw some elbows before I get that DVD player.
I don't know. It's not worth it to me. And I've always hated Black Friday, not because of Black Friday in and of itself, but in the way that Christmas seems to be taking over everything adjacent to it. And but what I mean by that is Black Friday in the United States is almost as celebrated, if not more celebrated, than Thanksgiving itself.
No, come on.
And I'm not convinced that, in another 50 years, people will just be celebrating Thanksgiving as this holiday.
Black Friday Eve.
Yeah.
Thanks for selling things to me day.
The mythology of it will be, we on this day we feast to prepare ourselves for the coming battle against the other shoppers.
We're grateful for tomorrow's discounts.
Yeah, that's effectively what it already is, and it's ultimately because of Black Friday. You don't hear
people
people
start dressing up like LARPers before they go, and like.
I feel like you're pretty jaded on this one, Arya. I don't know if it's true what you're saying at all. I'm
absolutely jaded when it comes to Christmas. I'll give you that one, but I still don't like it.
Does Black Friday really have to do with Christmas? I mean, I guess it's sort of the beginning of holiday sales in earnest. So, I mean, that I guess is how it's tied in with Christmas per se.
We wouldn't know because we're not marketed the same way as these people that go in these lines and fight their way in. So we're not sitting behind a TV watching junk all day to be motivated to go do this.
I don't read a newspaper either, so I don't get the inserts, right? Because usually the Thanksgiving day is the big day, right? I remember they would just stack every advertisement in the Thanksgiving paper, and then you look through and you see what the deals are, and you go shopping.
As a little kid, I pull out the toy catalog and circle all my toys. I better get them.
But the Thanksgiving newspaper is filled with ads for purchasing gifts and stuff like that. And to me, that's just more example of what I'm saying, that Christmas is just infected and taken over Thanksgiving and supplanted so many aspects of it.
Well, I mean, I used to work in retail back in Florida, so it was 20 years ago or whatever. But, I mean, it was always, as soon as Halloween was done, and even many times before, the Christmas product was in the store. Yeah. So it wasn't like Christmas was slowly migrating earlier into December and then finally taking over Thanksgiving. If that happened, it was before my lifetime because,
certainly.
As I was a teenager when I was working in retail. And I think
if I was going to suggest something for anyone that might be going shopping tomorrow or thought about it, don't. Okay? Don't be part of the statistic. Don't give them any credit. Try not to purchase anything tomorrow. You got plenty of other days throughout the December before Christmas to make your purchase.
We're going to continue here, and you can share your thoughts, your perspective on Black Friday. Has it taken over Thanksgiving? Is it subsuming the holiday of Thanksgiving, which is, of course, focused on gratitude? We're coming up.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. It is Thanksgiving Day, and the phones are open. If you want to join us here, you can. The number is 603-283-6160. Is Aria right when she's saying that Christmas has taken over Thanksgiving in the form of Black Friday and just getting people to focus on buying things rather than maybe focusing on being grateful for the good things in their life?
Saving money?
Yeah, that's always a good plan, right? Yeah.
I don't know that it's taken over yet, but it seems to be in the process of doing so. I mean, Christmas in my mind is just this monstrous entity that is steadily it's this plague on humanity that is steadily growing and consuming everything in its path, and I hate everything about it.
So you sound a little jaded, just maybe.
The Grinch over there.
I particularly hate how libertarians hold up Christmas as some sort of ultra-capitalist, wondrous event, and it's like, no, it's almost the opposite.
It is the opposite, because Jesus got things for free. He didn't pay for them.
I don't even care about the religious aspects of it, but there's nothing capitalist about spending all of your money, about buying consumer qualities.
It's just stupid to spend all your money. And unfortunately, a lot of people go into debt to buy things. This is where your advice, Joa, is actually really good advice. It's like, don't buy things you can't afford. Look, if your family members appreciate you, then they will understand that you shouldn't get into debt just so you can buy them some trinket.
Right.
This season.
The best thing you could probably do is throw your money into precious metals. I don't really like crypto right now, so I'm not going to even suggest that right now.
You don't like crypto right now?
No, I don't like it right now.
Really?
I hope people invest in whatever when I buy some, but right now...
You think it's going to keep going down? Is that why?
I think it's going to drop again. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say it's going to probably go below 10,000.
I don't think there's ever a better time to buy crypto than at this moment. I mean, it may go down, sure. Just buy more if it does.
Yeah.
It may also go up. Buy more if it does.
Just know where you're buying it from.
Well, that's another important thing. And don't hold it with the exchanges, which is, of course, what we learned again and again and again with these various different exchange failures. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up silver and gold, though, because bullionmax.com is certainly a great sponsor here on Free Talk Live, and they have a special offer for you this holiday season, which is the Silver Starter Kit. If you are not yet into precious metals and you want to do as many savvy investors have done and invest in the most stable assets in recorded history, then bullionmax.com/FTL is where you go to get the Silver Starter Kit at employee pricing. You can do that right now at bullionmax.com/FTL. Now, if you've already gotten the Silver Starter Kit, because there's only one per household, from Bullion Max, then they've got a huge selection of all kinds of other amazing gold and silver products there. By the way, the Silver Starter Kit is 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products, plus they throw in the free gold back. We've talked a lot about the gold back here on Free Talk Live. We love them, and I think you will as well. It's the perfect excuse to get your hands on one of them. You can go.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just bullionmax.com/FTL.
What I was going to say is I really like the gold back because it's fractional. And
yes.
So try to invest in fractional silver and gold. If you buy that 10 ounce,
if you intend to use it at some point in the future, yeah.
If you buy that 10 ounce, you expect, maybe like that when you go to spend it, you can't just break off a piece. So you have to spend like $250 worth of silver all at once. Think about the fractional, smaller pieces. 1 ounce is nice. You could probably buy a dinner for your family that night. But, I would go even smaller. Go to those 10th ounces. Go to those 10th or gram gold pieces.
Check out bullionmax.com/FTL. You can get your silver directly without talking to a salesperson, and the precious metal shipped fully insured directly to your home. It's bullionmax.com/FTL. So we were talking about the upcoming holidays. Aria, you seem a little jaded about it. You were raised a Christian, right, down in the South. I was as well. Joe, what's your history? You're from New England.
South of here.
I know that, but you're from Rhode Island.
Yeah, Rhode Island.
Was it a religious upbringing for you?
Not really.
Not so much?
No, not really.
Parents didn't go to church?
Kind of traditional stuff, but nothing really like hardcore
Does that
religion.
mean like your parents went to church on Christmas and then never...
They went to a few type holiday church events, but nothing like they didn't have
They weren't
regular
regulars.
church. Yeah,
They weren't there every week.
They said that they were Christian and said a prayer once in a while, but nothing too serious.
Were you raised to believe that Santa Claus was real?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I figured it out.
Okay,
yeah,
all right, that's good.
But yeah, I grew up, being taught some weirdo comes in the house and gives you free gifts. But I think that's a cop out, and I think my mom should have taken the credit.
Yeah, I never understood.
It's never good to lie to your kids, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. So if you want to comment, you can. The number 603-283-6160. So Aria, you're saying that the Black Friday has kind of taken over, or is beginning to take over in your mind, the holiday of Thanksgiving. And of course, Thanksgiving is a U.S.-centric holiday, right? Like, it doesn't really exist outside of the United States. It has a lot to do with the early settlers in the United States and their shifting from there's one of these Thanksgiving stories that we've told a number of times on Free Talk Live. We won't retell it this season, but shifting from a system of communal property where they were starving to shifting over to private property where there was then plenty, where they then had a bountiful harvest and they had surpluses and they were able to easily share because they had more than enough to go around. That was kind of the story behind Thanksgiving, as short as I could possibly tell it. And so that's what people are giving thanks for. They're giving thanks ultimately for the idea of private property and being able to own the product of your labor and then decide what to do with that.
Yeah, but they don't tell you that in American history.
No, that's been completely lost in government schools.
It's peculiar to me because I was at a bar recently with some friends and we were talking about Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff. And one of them brought up, that it's interesting that the Puritans ultimately became the Southern Baptists in the United States. That mentality pervaded into the Southern Baptists. And, they argue that the Puritans came to the United States or came to this continent for religious freedom. And how can anyone stand there and say that, knowing that the Salem witch trials, some of the most oppressive religious nonsense in history, took place just a few decades later by the very same people?
Right. That's what ultimately caused the founding of Rhode Island, because the Puritans were being persecuted from Massachusetts, Salem specifically, and that's where Roger Williams went to Rhode Island and formed the state. And he was so friendly with the natives that they gave him the land. So
nice.
So wait, the Puritans founded Rhode Island?
Well, technically one Puritan. He abandoned his family temporarily to hike and find a place that's better for his family and community.
Who was persecuting them back then?
Well, this would be the people, accusing everyone being a witch, and I don't know exactly.
I thought the Puritans were the ones accusing people of being a witch.
Well,
they were. But they were oppressing each other in that sense. They were all
accusing
Puritans.
each other.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, I saw this funny skit. It was like, yeah, honey, I had to break. We're breaking up. I can't be with you. And he's like, oh, what was that? You're you're a witch? Where you said you misplaced your broomstick, and he's getting the whole town because she's breaking up with them. So now he's accusing her of being a witch subtly.
Convenient.
Yeah. I feel like that was like a thing back then, you know?
Oh, yeah, it was absolutely horrible. Someone just saying that you were a witch was effectively a death sentence.
Yeah. Like you sneeze and it sounds different from everyone else. You
can do math, you're a witch.
The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Is the Thanksgiving holiday being slowly consumed by, consumerism and Black Friday? You can share your thoughts here, and maybe you are out working today, but apparently maybe more stores are not open on Thanksgiving. We'll find out coming up. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in a left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
From Future Story News in Washington, I'm Chris Jones. Numerous Ukrainian cities were left without power for most of Thursday after Russia fired a barrage of missiles at power generation facilities. Engineers shut down all 4 of Ukraine's nuclear power plants as a safety precaution, cutting off millions of people to heating and water supply in some places. The Ministry of Energy said it was the first time in 40 years they had all been shut down simultaneously. Meanwhile, the Polish government has asked Germany to further support Ukraine with air defense missiles, following growing concerns within NATO about the security situation on the Polish-Ukrainian border. From Berlin, Trent Murray reports.
After a stray Ukrainian air defense missile crossed the border into Poland last week, killing 2 Polish nationals, Berlin had reached out to Warsaw to offer a Patriot air defense system to be placed on its eastern border. While Poland initially accepted the offer, Wednesday's aerial bombardment of Ukraine by Russian cruise missiles saw the Polish government change its stance, instead asking Germany to send the Patriot battery to Ukraine instead.
The Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda have signed a deal to end months of fighting between Congolese forces and rebels of the M23 group in eastern DRC. Chris Ochamringa has more from Kinshasa.
Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi signed the agreement with Rwanda's Foreign Minister Vincent Biruta in Luanda. Rwandan President Paul Kagame did not show up for the talks. Relations between him and his Congolese counterpart have been strained since the resurgence of the M23 rebels in eastern DRC last November. The DRC government accuses Rwanda of backing the M23 rebels, a charge that Rwanda has repeatedly denied.
And UK businesses and unions are urging the government not to scrap a range of European Union laws. In a joint letter, several influential groups called on ministers to withdraw its retained EU law bill, warning it would put vital protections at risk. Sally Patterson has more in London.
When the UK left the European Union in 2020, it copied over thousands of EU laws relating to farming, immigration, workers' pay, and much more. Almost 3 years later, up to 4,000 pieces of legislation could be scrapped under the retained EU law bill. In their open letter, businesses and unions warned such a move would cause significant confusion and disruption. The groups also say that the bill could endanger important worker, consumer and environmental rights derived from EU law, including holiday pay, but a government spokesperson said the bill would ensure the UK's laws and regulations best fit the needs of the country. Sally Patterson, London.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Talk Live. Phones are open. We're here on this live Thanksgiving Day. The number 603-283-6160. In the studio, as always, throughout the holidays, 603-283-6160. Joining you in the studio, you do have Ian,
Joa,
and Aria.
Coming up later, we're going to get an update from Joa on his situation with the psycho General Don Bolduc, the loser who lost his election recently.
These are not my words. These are Ian's.
He is absolutely a loser, though.
It's a fact. I mean, I'm just telling you facts here. We'll get an update because he attacked you. And
yes.
you went to the police and you filed a report, and they got back to you this week. We'll find out what they had to say coming up here in a little bit. Again, the number, if you want to join us, 603-283-6160. So, Aria, you had a story about Black Friday this year, or what is, I guess, expected to be happening. It's obviously going to be happening tomorrow. But in a lot of cases, what we saw over the last maybe decade and a half or so was that stores that had previously only opened on Black Friday had started opening on Thanksgiving. The sales began the day in advance. Black Friday was expanding its footprint into Thanksgiving itself.
Yes, and from what I could tell, it was only a matter of time before Thanksgiving, before most of these stores like Target and Walmart were open for the entirety of Thanksgiving. Because why close at all if they're just going to open at 6 p.m.? It probably would have gotten pushed back to 4 p.m. and then 2 p.m. and then noon, and they're just, we'll just stay open all day and not close at all. But yes, the article I have here from Politico points out that since COVID-19, one of the few things that may have done that was good was that now stores actually are closing on Thanksgiving. And as far as I'm aware, they are remaining closed until actually Black Friday.
Okay. Instead
of beginning their sales at 6 p.m. on Thanksgiving night, which is, as you pointed out, what they've been doing. But back in the before times, says the article, one of the long-festering trends of the fourth weekend of November was the steady encroachment of that bigger holiday scheduled for December. Not long ago, Black Friday didn't even have a name. By 2019, the signature kickoff event of the Christmas shopping season had bled into Thanksgiving itself. They put it much more.
I want to say that I remember this was the case there was at least 1 year. Maybe it was just sort of an experimental thing that they did. But like I said, I used to work in retail in Florida. This was 20 years ago, so around the turn of the century. And I remember there was at least 1 year where Kmart, where I worked, was open on Thanksgiving. And we were the only store that was open on Thanksgiving at the time. And it was like bustling. It was the busiest day by far because everybody wanted to go and shop. They're all bored or whatever, sitting around the house, and Kmart was the only place open. So we were hopping at that time. So it's not necessarily a brand new concept. It has been around, but it certainly became more popular in the last several years.
Yeah, much more common.
Yeah.
Thus, Walmart, Sears, Dick's Sporting Goods, and Michaels all announced plans to open with special deals at 6 p.m. on Tuesday night of 2019. By that point, Target, Best Buy, Macy's, and Kohl's would already have been open for an hour. Upping the ante, Old Navy and GameStop opened at 3 p.m. and JCPenney unlocked the door at 2. So apparently they were already pushing the time back, and I just hadn't caught wind of it. Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's were open at 8 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning. Kmart opened at 6 o'clock in the morning before the sun had even risen on the United States' great homegrown holiday. This year, by contrast, most, but not all, of the big chains remain closed for business, foregoing the opportunity to have customers make...
Kmart doesn't even exist except for, I think, 3 stores, the last I heard.
Yeah.
It's over for them.
But it's not over for Walmart and Target and these others, and evidently a lot of them will remain closed for business today.
Okay.
Over the last decade, Americans have been subject to a made-for-cable debate emanating in large part from Washington about a supposed war on Christmas. And this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, this myth of the war on Christmas.
I completely agree with you here. Like, I don't necessarily agree that Thanksgiving is going to be consumed by Black Friday at any point, but I definitely agree that the Christians love to play themselves up as the victims of this supposed war on Christmas, and I've never heard of anything more ridiculous. And this has been also in play for decades. This is also not a new thing. They've been bellyaching about their precious Christmas holiday being under attack in some way, and it's like they really the only thing they have to complain about is the cashiers at their favorite businesses or corporate stores won't say Merry Christmas to them. That's really all they have.
It's funny that you mentioned that because that's literally the example that this article has.
That's because they have nothing else.
I know, man, and it's peculiar. It's funny.
It's a war. It's a war on Christmas. No, I mean, seriously, like, come on, guys. We have to say Merry Christmas. We can't say Happy Holidays. It doesn't make any sense. We all know what you mean when you say it. Happy Holidays. Oh, yeah, I'm not Christian. And like, we all know when you go into, I don't know, this is ridiculous. Who goes shopping on Thanksgiving?
Well, plenty of people do.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
I'm not one. Well, I went and bought a Monster today, but
I went out. I had to go get some
they
milk.
Have to open.
We ran out of milk earlier today, so I had to run down.
I'm talking about like full on like
you
shopping.
mean like Christmas shopping? You mean going and buying gifts,
like filling
and
up
things
shopping
like
carts with the junk you don't need.
Think about a lot of people do. They go into debt to the tune of I think $1,800 last year shopping.
Was it that much?
It was a lot.
I thought it was like 900. We'll have to look up those numbers.
Yeah.
But think about this though, Joe. I mean, how many people actually want to spend time with their families?
That's true.
Right?
I mean, well,
for a lot of people, it's torture having to go to a Thanksgiving dinner, and they want to cut out of there as soon as they possibly can.
Just don't go.
So having a sale is a perfect excuse to say, I got to get down to the Kmart.
Well, see, the thing is like, yeah, I don't want to be around my family. but the thing is, like, my family now has become people here in New Hampshire.
Sure.
So it's like...
That's a family you chose, and that's a different story.
Yeah. But I felt like this was, like, more in touch and, like, people actually cared about each other kind of Thanksgiving. I mean, not that saying my biological family don't think that way, too, but it's just, you can't have conversation. It's awkward the whole time.
No, you can't talk about what you really want to talk about, right?
Yeah,
like you can't actually be yourself, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like, I feel like if I went to my parents for Thanksgiving, I had to, like, walk in with the 9/11 Commission report, be ready to present them my whole... Because it's like that one time a year I can actually talk to them about things, so they're forced to listen to me around the Christmas
but they don't
Thanksgiving
care, right?
table.
Like, they don't want to
really.
They don't want to listen to what you have to say about that stuff.
No.
Yeah, I don't understand why people go to these things. That if you hate spending time with your family so much, just don't do it.
Right. Well, I agree with you there, but you know, whether we agree with it or not, people feel obligated, right? And so they go, they do their obligation, they make their, you know, pumpkin pie or their
tell your family to suck less if they want you to come visit.
This is true. Can you say that louder for my family?
That's what I told mine. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come. You guys just have to suck less.
Sorry, Mom, if you're listening.
So I think that's probably that has to be a factor in why so many people are willing to go out and shop on Thanksgiving, is because there's really nothing else to do, right? Because everything's closed for the most part. So, you know, if you are going to your parents' house, or you are going to your grandma's house or whoever's house, and you really don't want to be there for it, it's a perfect excuse to just cut away and say, you know what, I got some Christmas shopping I got to do. See you guys, and then you go out and you spend a couple hours doing that. I don't know.
It's like a drug to go shopping and to know, like, with all the adrenaline flowing through the air, everyone's like, oh my God, it's Black Friday, I get a wicked deal. That adrenaline is addictive. It rubs off on other people. So I think people have become addicted to it.
That's probably true.
Like, they know they don't need this junk. They know their family don't need this junk. They're just doing it for like their self-pleasure to get that rush. That's what I really think it is. I don't know.
That's a good point.
For a time, it seemed as if Thanksgiving was going to be a new front in the conflict, having gotten ample cultural war mileage out of fury about holiday nomenclature. President Donald Trump, late in his term, briefly sounded the alarm about a related threat, a war on Thanksgiving. This is the first I've heard about this.
According to Trump?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was being led by progressive party poopers who were sour about colonial history. I understand. But there's no, like, what Columbus Day, I called it Happy Indigenous Peoples Day just to bother some people that I knew would be bothered by it. But there's no equivalent for Thanksgiving. I called it Happy Bird Fisting Day earlier because that's how you go about getting all the stuff out. But as far as any war on Thanksgiving, it's coming from Christmas insofar that there is any attack on Thanksgiving. And it's coming in the form of Black Friday. But apparently, if you didn't notice this war, the chances are good that you have an office job. I'm curious how they come to that.
The fact that their job is so boring and that this is something that they can look forward to that's exciting?
Well, I think what they're saying is if you're working in an office, you have the day off, and so therefore
and if you work retail, you're right there in working. Black Friday.
Yeah. The number is 603-283-6160. You can join the show, especially if you are working in retail and you want to comment on this. It's Free Talk Live. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Energy got expensive. I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. There are things you can do right there at home to cut energy cost. Are you running a load of wash? Unless you're attacking serious stains, the cold water mode is okay for most of what you're washing. And wait until you have a full load to save electricity and water. Ditto for the dishwasher, which will also save on detergent, which is pricey now. And stocking up on groceries doesn't just take advantage of bargains you find. Your freezer works more efficiently when it's full, because all the stuff in there is frozen, so you'll use less electricity. As for the fridge, set it between 28 and 42 degrees Fahrenheit, and the freezer between 0 and 5. How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? None. They'd rather keep their clients in the dark. There are too many lawyer jokes to count. However, there are some lawyers with more noble intentions. At the Institute for Justice, we bring the light to our clients. We are a non-profit public interest law firm with clear values and principles. At IJ, we fight for those whose most basic rights are denied by the government. Visit our website today at ij.org.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, and you can join the show here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Talking about the holidays, because, well, it's Thanksgiving Day. We're here in the studio. Tonight, you've got Ian,
Joa, and Arya.
And you can join us online anytime you want. Just head over to freetalklive.com. We do have our podcast feeds available for you. And there are more than one option out there for you. The main one is our Daily Digest, which is highlights of every day's radio show. We also have links over to full archives of the show as well, the entire radio show. Various different options available for you. So go to feeds.freetalklive.com. You can find those links and information there. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Arya, you're sharing with us a story from Politico talking about how over the recent years it seemed like there was a trend towards more Black Friday sales starting on Thursday, meaning starting on Thanksgiving, that things had been moving in that direction. Then all of a sudden, COVID happened, and for some reason, that trend seems to have reversed. Apparently, very few places are actually open today to go shopping, and that's what they're coming in here with.
Yeah, I honestly don't think it's as related to COVID as it is to inflation and the price increases and the fact that fewer people have money to spend than they did, 2 or 3 years ago. That's what I think the actual, if there is a single cause, I suspect it's just that, people are broke. So they don't have as many options for going out and shopping as they did prior to COVID-19.
I think the numbers were down slightly last year as far as spending was concerned, but it wasn't like a huge drop compared to prior to COVID.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I don't celebrate this crap. I don't do it. I don't participate. I opt out of all of this nonsense. So maybe someone out there takes part in it, and they can fill us in on what it's actually like to be out there today. But I wouldn't do it. I feel so bad for the retail workers who deal with this stuff. I've worked retail once in my life. It was at a Radio Shack.
Oh, yeah.
During that awkward period where they tried to be a cell phone company, and it was good because you could get AT&T, Verizon, and Sprint right there at one store. But obviously, if you're going to go with the carrier, why would you go to Radio Shack instead of to the Sprint store or to the AT&T store? So it was a terrible business model, but it worked for them briefly, I guess. But anyway, I worked there for a period of about 3 months before I got a job as a slot tech and managed to get out. But it was well known that Black Friday was the worst day to work there. Everyone in the staff had to work there, and I managed to secure a different job like a week before Black Friday. So I was like, good luck with this nightmare you have coming. But I've heard about Black Friday shopping, and just even if you don't have people, coming into fist fights, it's got to be a nightmare of experience.
Yeah, it's just nonstop.
Your stores filled with people constantly.
Yeah, it's nonstop, and it is pretty crazy. By the way, you mentioned Radio Shack. Obviously, they've closed a ton of stores in recent years, but according to theblackfriday.com, Radio Shack was open at 8 a.m. today.
Gotta be kidding me.
I hate that.
They remote controlled their customers.
One of the cool things about Radio Shack, and the reason I will always miss it, is because you can't imitate online what Radio Shack offered with their electronic components compartment. Like, I don't know what sort of weird electronic gadget I want to build, but if I go into Radio Shack, because it's 20 cents for this component or $1.50 for this one, it's like, oh, okay, you have this LED sensor. Okay, I can come up with an idea, and you spend $10 or whatever, and it may not work. Who cares? Or it may work and you learn something new about electronic circuitry. That was the beauty of Radio Shack. But, I'm one of few people who would actually go out there and do this. Everyone else just
wasn't enough to keep them in business.
No. And I'm not surprised to hear that. But now I don't even know what these components are or what they do. And if I wanted to do something like that and order the parts online, it would take forever. And it's not good. So I miss Radio Shack for that reason alone. However, retail workers have noticed this war on Thanksgiving, as they're calling it. I don't know if I would call it a war on Thanksgiving. I think the article here is being a bit facetious when they call it that. And evidently, Thanksgiving is pushing back. Well, you mentioned the Radio Shack open at 8 a.m. today. I'm sure they're not the only ones, but
I was looking at the list. It's a pretty short list. I mean, there's not really any big names on there. Kmart's on there, but they barely exist anymore.
Same for Radio Shack.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just the struggling stores are the ones who are trying to cash in on it.
Yeah, like Family Dollar was on there, and they've closed a lot of stores recently, from what I understand as well.
Yeah, it was too many of them, though. There's too many of those dollar stores.
I don't know how Dollar General's just popped up everywhere, man.
I don't know.
Well, those aren't dollar stores. They have the word dollar in them, but they're not dollar stores.
But they are cheap stores.
Sure, yeah.
We're going to change that name to Goldback General.
No, you're
good
not.
luck. It's not at all clear that the threat has gone for good. A lot of the reasons why big stores are staying shut this Thanksgiving involve things most people hope will not be a permanent feature of American life. Inflation.
They actually mentioned it?
They did.
Okay.
It's silly to think that it's not going to be a regular part of Americans' lives. It's been a regular. I recently saw a meme about how Thanksgiving was going to be short this year because of the price increase. I was like, yeah, thanks, Biden and Trump and Obama, and I went all the way back thinking presidents back to like Gerald Ford. And I only stopped there because I got tired of Googling who presidents were.
Man.
I would say back to Johnson.
All the way back to Woodrow Wilson, I would argue, in 1913. And I think it was Woodrow Wilson, and the creation of the Federal Reserve Bank. Inflation, as we understand it, has gone back at least to him.
So you're saying they created the Federal Reserve to attack Thanksgiving?
By the way, I do have the Walmart ad pulled up here. The BlackFriday.com collects all the different ads, right? So you can see them online, and somebody's going to get hurt. They're selling they're selling a 65-inch TV for $228.
Oh,
what?
wow,
Where?
that's
I'm
actually
going.
tempting, man.
Yeah.
Like a 65-inch television is
cheap.
It's only like twice that price at regular retail price. So they're cheap 65-inch televisions, but like $228.
They pretty much convinced me. You know what? Let's fight Thanksgiving. Let's go.
I'm going to be up making a lasagna late tonight. I'm thinking maybe you just make it a little bit later, and then I'll be up and I can hit the Walmart and get one of these TVs, man.
You can pitch a tent and like set up a little like space heater for you outside while waiting to get in the building. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine standing outside of freezing cold weather.
No, I'm
waiting for
joking.
this.
I don't. There is no reason I would ever need a television enough to go deal with the nonsense that's going to be Black Friday tomorrow, or in a few hours, whatever.
Yeah.
Also,
6
worker
a.m.
shortages, and that's a thing that's ongoing, and I still don't understand.
That's a good point. Yeah, they can't staff the stores. This is going to be a crazy year because it's hard to find people willing to show up and do a job.
Well, this brings up maybe the article from last week that we were talking about how Target is $400 million in debt, or not debt,
from the thieving,
losses, yeah,
from the organized criminal theft.
Now, I'm not suggesting anyone to do this, but if they're understaffed, there's a likely chance that there's going to be a lot more theft.
I saw something recently that suggested that many of the thefts can be attributed to employees who feel like they aren't being paid enough, so they pocket a thing here or there that they may or may not need, or that they may or may not be able to sell. I don't know if that's true or not. I can't imagine too many people being willing to risk their lives over a 32-gigabyte flash drive or whatever. I mean, not their lives, their jobs. But, maybe some people don't actually need their jobs.
It's a war on Thanksgiving.
And, of course, the lingering fear of a jam-packed pre-Christmas sale turning into a super spreader event.
Oh, geez.
I don't think that's affecting anyone,
No
but
way.
I understand why Politico included it.
It probably did in the year 2020.
Yeah.
Right? Like that probably had a real downturn as far as attendance to these sorts of events.
And maybe to some extent last year, but COVID's over.
Yeah, but I'm okay with this being COVID can be used for excuses, okay? And this is a perfect excuse. We should be telling people COVID is going to be rampant on Black Friday. Don't go shopping, okay? That's it. That's what you got to do. COVID, guys.
COVID's not going to keep people away from a $228 65-inch TV.
I just coughed on it. Sorry, guys.
14-inch laptop for $179. I mean, these kinds of prices, even though people are, even though people are having a tougher time, they're gonna make the excuse to go out and do this.
It bothers me so much that they advertise laptops based on screen size instead of some useful metric like its
these
processor.
are cheap junk. Yeah, I mean, it's the lowest.
Yeah, it's gonna be
quality.
Windows 11 or what Windows are they at now? Windows 12.
They're coming out with 12 soon, but
some starter edition of it that can't do anything. I hate it. This is not a lament about Christmas elevator music starting at Halloween, although I hate Christmas music too. And it's because Christmas doesn't exist in a bubble. I understand these people like, well, it's not about religion to us. Okay, well, you still call it Christmas. It's literally still in the name. You can't pretend like it doesn't have all of this baggage attached to it, because it does. It was horrifically violent and has been that way through all of Christianity's history. I'm glad it doesn't mean that to you, so call it something else. Call it Yule if you want. I don't care, but as long as you're calling it Christmas, you are tying yourself to that bloodshed that Christianity has inflicted on people. And the music is just another aspect of that.
I can't stand the music.
That's one of the worst parts of working in retail during the season.
Oh my God, I'm so
it's
sorry.
non-stop.
Yeah, the music,
Non-stop.
I have different issues with it. Like the classical Christmas music, I can get on board with. Like, ironically enough, the religious music is actually good. It's well-produced, well-written music. But the pop Christmas
stuff?
music is absolutely, it's an abomination to God and man.
All right, more coming up here. You can join the show. On the way, we're going to get an update from Joa on his situation with the general. It's Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Chris Jones. Numerous Ukrainian cities were left without power for most of Thursday after Russia fired a barrage of missiles at power generation facilities. Engineers shut down all 4 of Ukraine's nuclear power plants as a safety precaution, cutting off millions of people to heating and water supply in some places. The Ministry of Energy said it was the first time in 40 years they had all been shut down simultaneously. Meanwhile, the Polish government has asked Germany to further support Ukraine with air defense missiles, following growing concerns within NATO about the security situation on the Polish-Ukrainian border. From Berlin, Trent Murray reports.
After a stray Ukrainian air defense missile crossed the border into Poland last week, killing 2 Polish nationals, Berlin had reached out to Warsaw to offer a Patriot air defense system to be placed on its eastern border. While Poland initially accepted the offer, Wednesday's aerial bombardment of Ukraine by Russian cruise missiles saw the Polish government change its stance, instead asking Germany to send the Patriot battery to Ukraine instead.
The Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda have signed a deal to end months of fighting between Congolese forces and rebels of the M23 group in eastern DRC. Chris Ochamringa has more from Kinshasa.
Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi signed the agreement with Rwanda's Foreign Minister Vincent Biruta in Luanda. Rwandan President Paul Kagame did not show up for the talks. Relations between him and his Congolese counterpart have been strained since the resurgence of the M23 rebels in eastern DRC last November. The DRC government accuses Rwanda of backing the M23 rebels, a charge that Rwanda has repeatedly denied.
And UK businesses and unions are urging the government not to scrap a range of European Union laws. In a joint letter, several influential groups called on ministers to withdraw its retained EU law bill, warning it would put vital protections at risk. Sally Patterson has more in London.
When the UK left the European Union in 2020, it copied over thousands of EU laws relating to farming, immigration, workers' pay, and much more. Almost 3 years later, up to 4,000 pieces of legislation could be scrapped under the retained EU law bill. In their open letter, businesses and unions warn such a move would cause significant confusion and disruption. The groups also say that the bill could endanger important worker, consumer and environmental rights derived from EU law, including holiday pay, but a government spokesperson said the bill would ensure the UK's laws and regulations best fit the needs of the country. Sally Patterson, London.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking in more detail today at the spat between FIFA and several European soccer associations over the last-minute decision to ban players from wearing rainbow armbands illustrating support for the LGBT community. Homosexuality, of course, is outlawed in Qatar, where the World Cup is being hosted, but the announcement by FIFA's president Gianni Infantino that players wearing the armbands could face the yellow card and other sanctions led to national teams immediately ditching them. Oliver Brown is the chief sports writer for the Daily Telegraph, and he's in Doha, where he was not astonished to hear that news.
Not particularly surprised, I must say. I did think this was gesture politics from the get-go. We have to recall that just 10, 11 days ago, when Gareth Southgate made the squad announcement, he was adamant neither he nor his team were going to be muzzled by FIFA. And when the first challenge came, England just capitulated. This is a FIFA fiefdom, if you like, and what Gianni Infantino's word is law. I mean, whenever he goes around Doha, what FIFA says goes, I'm afraid, within the World Cup.
He points to real signs of courage this week in Qatar, particularly that of the Iranian team, whose players refused to sing the country's national anthem, an act of support for the protests taking place across Iran. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
To recap our top stories, numerous Ukrainian cities were left without power for most of Thursday after Russia fired a barrage of missiles at power generation facilities. The Polish government has asked Germany to further support Ukraine with air defense missiles. The Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda have signed a deal to end months of fighting between Congolese forces and rebels of the M23 group. And UK businesses and unions are urging the government not to scrap a range of European Union laws. That's the latest feature story news. Chris Jones reporting.
Jared Gilchrist was surfing when he was attacked by a shark that took his leg. Thanks for being with us, big guy.
Thanks, this is tight.
What was going through your mind when you first realized that you were there with a shark all alone in open water?
I felt like a total badass. It bit into my leg and started shaking it back and forth, and at that point I just felt, yes, this is sweet.
I can't imagine what it would have been like to see the teeth sinking into your leg like.
It was sick. At one point, I just saw my leg just floating there in the water. It was awesome.
Okay, we're joined now via satellite by Dr. Brian Caddy. What condition was Jared's leg in when you first saw him?
It was in pretty rough shape. The shark had scissored through the muscle, and it was all just like hanging off the bone. It was nuts.
Yeah, I kept touching it. It was slimy as hell.
Yeah, totally. It was insane.
Well, doctor, how do you deal with something like this?
Well, you're never fully prepared for an injury this freaking cool. We just tried to stop the blood loss, and we took a bunch of photos because it's hysterical to freak out the nurses with gnarly shit like this.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, and the phones are open here. You can join the show. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Whether you want to comment on Black Friday, according to a story that Aria was just sharing with us from Politico, apparently fewer businesses, the mega store chains, are opening today on Thanksgiving. Now,
I don't know if it was just them, because, it's been I don't want to say tradition because I'm not a tradition type, but for the last few years on Thanksgiving, I ended up having Indian for dinner because it was one of the few places that was open. They're not open this year.
Really?
Yep.
Well, I know Muhammad is out of town.
Maybe that was why.
But normally his family does keep the place open when he's gone. It could be a factor, though.
Could be. I was just shocked. I was like, all right, time to call in, place an order. And
they weren't there.
The phone just kept ringing. I was like, oh, my God. They never close.
Yeah, that is shocking. Do Chinese places stay open on Thanksgiving? I know
they should.
They're sort of known for being open on Christmas. I know that.
Some of them do, but none of the ones that I called were open. So
you
I was
checked?
so I was like, I'll just make some pasta or something. It won't take me 10 minutes to do.
So that was one of the comments or the discussions we had earlier tonight. If you want to weigh in, you're welcome to at 603-283-6160, especially if you are working the retail field. Have things changed? And is it because of inflation? Is it because of staffing shortages? Those were two of the suggestions that Politico was making as to why, after a lengthy push over many years, pushing into Thanksgiving Day as the first day that Black Friday, quote unquote, started, that it's now been rolled back and isn't happening in most places on Thanksgiving. So you're welcome to comment on that. But Joey, you've got an update for us here tonight. It was a few weeks ago now, outside of a debate that was happening here in New Hampshire. This was prior to the election that had there was a conflict, I guess, between you and this guy named General Don Bolduc. He was the Republican nominee for U.S. Senate here in New Hampshire. Terrible candidate. Terrible arch-statist
planted to
person.
lose.
Well, I don't know about that.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, look, he won the vote. I mean, he won up against like 9 or 10 other candidates in the primary. So he was clearly the choice of what the Republicans. I mean, they just can't turn down a general. That doesn't matter what the hell the man's what was coming out of his mouth. They just love themselves a general. And
they do love war.
Yeah, they nominated this guy, and he showed up at this debate. You were there. I was there.
Yep.
A bunch of people witnessed this go down. What happened, and it was caught on video. The video is over at freekeene.com if you want to scroll back to, I think it was early November when this happened.
November 3rd.
Yeah, thank you, November 3rd. So you can go back and you can see it for yourself where this liar, Don Bolduc, accused you of hitting him.
Yes.
Multiple times.
But in reality, he actually stepped toward me and threw an elbow.
He did. He threw an elbow behind him into you.
That's
you
correct.
were, I think, struck by this, but in a way that you didn't realize what had happened.
It was so chaotic, honestly, but that was the first contact.
Yeah, and you did step back, so it did kind of push you back. You can see that happening in the video.
Yeah.
This wasn't just a little tap. It didn't seem to me, at least.
What's
from
amazing to
watching the
me
video.
is that Bolduc then said, he attacked me or whatever.
Me.
And the
That's what he
police,
said.
without any evidence, without any proof of anything, or without even watching the videos of the people who were filming this, took him at his word and arrested you.
Yeah, but not for hitting him.
Right. Yeah, they only charged Joe with
Trespass.
disorderly conduct
Yep.
and trespass.
The disorderly came after.
Right.
After I was in their custody and at the police station, they tacked that on.
So they protected themselves, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the butthurt charge. They had to put it on there. But,
yeah, so then we got you out of there that night, and the next day you went back to the police station
Correct.
and filed a report.
Yep, I filed a complaint against Bolduc for hitting me and inciting the crowd to further assault me, which absolutely 100% happened, and he did make contact with me. But
And then his goons came out from the crowd and then made further contact with you.
Correct, and I got the complaint back. They investigated it. So let me read what Kevin LaRoche.
I'm assuming by investigating it, it means they watch the videos that are literally
Yes.
online and that they can see where Don Bolduc attacked you.
And so I'm going to tell you, this guy is going to lie right here in this email.
I'm shocked already.
A police officer would never tell a lie.
He's like, I'm writing you an advice, blah, blah, blah. About
Oh, by the
Bolduc.
way, before you go on, Don Bolduc is, I understand it, is an active duty police officer.
Yes, part-time. Yep.
I dislike this guy more and more every minute that we talk about him.
So yeah, they're saying that I claimed the assault on Bolduc on November 3rd. The result of the investigation failed to yield the burden of proof, probable cause, that is needed to substantiate the allegation of assault that you made to the Goffstown police.
You have video of him assaulting you.
It's unbelievable. Additionally, I was unable to confirm the existence of the requisite mens rea mental state or the intent to commit the offense of assault by Mr. Bolduc.
He attacked you. That's how you confirm his mental state and his intent.
I mean, just watching a video, how would you know what the intent of somebody
You know what his mental state was? Incite further violence on me by calling the police over.
And you don't need to prove intent, do you? If someone hits you, you don't need to.
Well,
I guess
if it's
you
an
wouldn't need
accident,
to. Okay, yeah.
Right, then this is where we're getting at now. It says, Although in the video, there does appear to be a minor contact between Mr. Bulldog's right arm and your torso.
Where he assaulted you.
Yeah.
That's a weird way of saying he elbowed you.
He took 2 steps toward me to put an elbow in my chest and cower away, right?
That's amazing. There appears to be contact between his elbow and your chest. That's such a Bill Clinton thing to say. It's like, no, I touched her lips, you see.
And he goes, this contact is merely incidental and caused by other people in the area who shifted in the crowd.
That's a ridiculous claim.
That's a bold-faced lie, because if you watch the video, he actually hits me and then he gets bumped by other people.
Yeah.
Right? And then it says, bumping into Mr. Bulldog, causing his arm to move in your direction. Oh, okay.
No.
This is such a lie.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Kevin LaRoche. You're going to be, probably on the lawyer list too for lying. On a police report.
I really appreciate your optimism. I don't believe for a moment that will become the case.
It's all going to come down to Bible. See, my biggest mistake.
It's not perjury if he believes it to be true.
Well,
and that
video don't lie. So it's
but that could be his understanding of the video.
Yeah, he's not watching the video hard enough.
I agree.
Watch it harder, LaRoche. Yeah, so it just goes based on the foregoing. The case has been closed as unfounded.
So what's the next step?
You'd have to sue.
He says, should you wish to discuss matter further, feel free to call me at 603-497-4858. I'm not saying call. I'm just the number.
Yeah, it's just a waste of time.
I'm just reading the email here, guys.
Right, yeah, if you were to talk to him, you'd be just
it's
blowing hot air.
But the big mistake that I made was going to the Goffstown police to file the complaint.
What should you have done?
I should have gone straight to the sheriffs. And the reason why
would that make any difference?
Because Goffstown police are investigating themselves to do no wrongdoing.
Okay.
So I need to go to someone else that's higher up on the pipeline, that's going to take it. So
in theory, that would be a sheriff, but I doubt that most
county
sheriffs...
prosecutor.
Okay. I doubt most sheriffs are going to have the integrity and honesty to actually investigate this and say, look, Bulldog assaulted you and he needs to be held accountable for that. Sheriff DeMezzo would, but there's a reason I'm not the sheriff.
So is that your plan now? Is you're going to go to the sheriff's office?
Yeah, I'm going to
next?
go to the sheriff's office next. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And so they're going to take a look at it, and it should be
You're also hiring an attorney, right?
Yes. The thing is here is that she was going to say they sent my charges to the county level, right?
Who did? The
right.
Goffstown did?
Yeah. So the county's looking at it. At what my charges.
Oh, okay, your charges. Gotcha. Meaning the charges you're facing.
Yes, correct. So, which is funny because they investigated themselves when they should have just sent it to the county. They should have been smart enough to just send it to the county, but we can't expect cops to be smart, right?
So what you're saying is that the charges of so-called disorderly and trespass against you would normally be prosecuted by the Goffstown police,
right?
But they don't feel comfortable doing it themselves,
right? I think
they want to get a real attorney involved.
I think there's a conflict here because they were hired for the event, so they are in a sticky situation.
There's one coming up here. By the way, you do have a fundraiser. It's not quite done yet, so do you want to plug that?
Yep. GiveButter.com/flaw, F-L-A-W.
GiveButter.com/flaw to help Joe with his legal fundraising. It's not a huge goal. It's only like $1,600 to get this.
I got 11-15 so far.
So more coming up here.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. For 2023, we're going back to where it all started, the weekend before PorcFest. ForkFest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 15th through the 18th. forkfest.party. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. The phones are open and you can join the show here. We are here on Christmas Day. Thanksgiving Day. Jeez.
It ought to be Christmas.
We are also here on Christmas, though.
That's true. We will be here on Christmas and Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and we're here on Thanksgiving Day, and the phones are open. So if you want to join us, you can. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can also bring up whatever is on your mind. And Free Talk Live is brought to you by Bitcoin.com. It is not the end, by the way. The mainstream media would love for you to believe that cryptocurrency is dead, thanks to FTX. And maybe we'll talk about FTX a little bit later here tonight. The most recent failed Bitcoin exchange. The fact is,
the last I heard, Bitcoin's at like $15,000, $16,000.
It came back above 16.
That's so far from dead. I don't know the exact number, but it's hundreds of millions of dollars in the crypto market.
It's actually slipped below $1 trillion total market cap. I think it's like 800 something now.
I couldn't remember off the top of my head if it was a billion or a trillion. So I mean, hundreds of billions. I mean, that's so ridiculously undead, as in not dead, that I can't believe anyone would take it seriously.
So go to learn the basics about cryptocurrency. It is not going to die just because a centralized exchange has died. That's like saying that the dollar will go away because some bank failed. I mean, that doesn't happen. So crypto has a long future ahead of it. It just keeps getting more interesting and more exciting. You should go to Bitcoin.com, learn about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash there, get the basics down, learn about decentralization and mining and all the things you need to know before you get into actually buying some crypto. And by the way, when you do buy your first Bitcoin, you don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy 1% or less if you want to of a Bitcoin. So just really keep that in mind. And yes, Bitcoin.com does allow you to buy cryptocurrency, and also you can get the latest news headlines there as well over at news.bitcoin.com. But if you want to start at the beginning and get the basics, just click Get Started at the top of the page over at Bitcoin.com. Joe, what other developments or what else do we need to know about your current case that you may be bringing against the Goffstown Police Department as well, because they're helping cover up for this General Don Bolduc, this guy that actually attacked you. We did just review the footage here in the studio, and it's quite clear to me. And I'm the one who edited this footage together. I didn't shoot it, but I did edit the two different angles together.
You agree that Kevin LaRoche is lying in this report? I know you said something else, but go ahead.
I think that Mr. LaRoche is either blind or he's lying, one or the other. It seems pretty clear he's covering for his buddy.
If he's blind, he shouldn't be a cop.
Yeah, it's pretty clear he's covering for his friend, right? Like this person who he respects, etc.
Don't cross that thin blue line, right?
No, he's not. And what happens in this video is you get an elbow from Don Bolduc, and the cops claim in what you read in the police report was that it was other people pushing into Don Bolduc that he flailed back and then he hit you with his elbow.
Nope.
That didn't happen at all. The only person who had approached Bolduc at that moment was his manager.
Right.
He was the only one who was close enough to do anything, and he's just standing there. He's not putting hands on Don. There are two thugs that are friends of Don or supporters of Don.
And one of them is like a committee chair or something, GOP committee chair.
They break the line of the protesters, if you will, and they start moving toward you guys, and one of them does attack you in a short moment after.
Yeah.
But they haven't gotten close enough yet to put hands on Don Bolduc to supposedly then result in him attacking you.
Right.
No. He hits you quick before anybody else gets anywhere nearby.
That's correct.
And it's quite clear. And you can see it yourself over at freekeen.com. But some people who saw this footage before the cop did were seeing all kinds of things. I mean, there's even people who believe that everyone in the video is a crisis actor.
Who said that?
That's Bonnie's seen it.
I don't remember who said that, but someone did say that.
More than one person has said that they believe everyone in the video is an actor. You know? That's how delusional.
Nuts, man.
Yeah, that's how delusional people are about this stuff.
I mean, we have people here on this planet who believe that the Earth is flat and who believe that there are things called water mountains, and that's why ships disappear over the horizon.
I've not heard of the water mountain before.
I only heard about it recently. It's impossible to tell if these people are serious or not. It's like the flying spaghetti monster thing and the people wearing colanders on their heads.
I'm okay with that.
Sure, some of them are. I'm not, because some of them are joking. The people who initially said the Earth was flat 10 years ago, they were probably joking too.
Yeah, the guy that says birds aren't real, he's joking, but how many people actually believed him?
He's making money. Let him do it.
But
I'm not saying he shouldn't do it. I mean,
but some of these beliefs have real world harm.
Yes, that is true.
And I'm totally fine with. I love birds aren't real, right? It's hilarious.
It's funny.
But people shouldn't genuinely believe that, and yet I don't know if anyone does right now, but it's only a matter of time before someone genuinely does, where they genuinely believe that birds are a government psyop, just like they genuinely believe that the flying spaghetti monster exists and that there are water mountains and that the Earth is flat. So people are incredibly stupid. They see all kinds of things that aren't there, and if they're not seeing things that aren't there, they're just outright liars fabricating the reality that they want to exist in.
I don't think that's the case with this cop, though. I think he's just covering up.
Yeah,
for
he's
sure.
covering up.
So what is there more to this that's developing at the moment?
Other than from 1 week from now
you've got a hearing.
Is my arraignment. Not only that, it's my birthday, so I hope to see
that's a great
as
way
many
to play.
people there for my birthday party and
in court and Goffstown District Court.
You're being arraigned for what?
Trespassing and disorder.
Oh.
Yeah. You always have to go to an arraignment.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time,
They insist on pursuing this further.
Of course, they're going to go as far as they can go with
this.
They
might push this right up to trial.
This is such a stupid fight for them to take, man.
Why?
Oh, yeah.
Because meanwhile, you're going to be suing them. I mean,
well, that's why they're dragging it out.
You have literal video of this. It's not going to end well for them. Well, they surely know that.
I don't know what they
One
know.
thing's smart about dragging it out, and I'm going to give them a little
credit.
Yeah, well, not credit. I'm just going to give them knowledge, right? If they drag it out, then insurance resets next year, and they don't have to worry about the going over budget. So if a department gets sued enough where the insurance company can't cover them anymore,
they raise the rates.
not only or raise rates or drop
cancel
them.
the policy.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe this is up their avenue. I doubt it, but that's the only incentive I see for them to try to drag it out.
Yeah, well, I mean, they must know who they're dealing with by now. I mean, for sure, I would hope that they realize you're not going to take the plea deal.
Oh no, I wish not to plea, and I wish the court not plea on my behalf.
Is that what you're going to say?
That's what I always say
on the day.
Yeah.
All right, well, stay tuned. Joa has got his own channels, and you can find him on Odyssey at Breaking the Flaw. Go to our Odyssey channel at video.freetalklive.com. Just type in Breaking the Flaw in the search. You'll find his channel there. If you're still on YouTube, you can find him there too. But follow his channels, and I imagine that'll be the best way to get updates on what's going on, right?
Yeah, yep.
Although you're on Twitter now too.
I am on Twitter.
You want to give that handle?
Well, it's just Breaking the Flaw or at Breaking the Flaw. Yeah, no spaces.
Follow him there.
Yeah.
And keep up to date with this because it's a pretty interesting and ridiculous situation.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about Don Bolduc since the election? What's he doing now?
I don't know. Who cares?
You don't pay any attention.
No, I don't care about these politicians. He's not my friend.
Gone back to being a cop, probably.
I did eat Thanksgiving dinner with Jeremy Kauffman. That was nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about the Free Stater Thanksgiving, man. You went to one tonight.
Yeah, it was a lot
Ours
of fun.
is going to be tomorrow. The Cheshire County one is happening tomorrow. But
right.
But you went to one at the Quill.
Yeah, it was just a potluck, and we had some great food. A lot of good stuff.
How many people were there?
Oh, I don't know, maybe 50, 60.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe.
I think that's about how many they're expecting tomorrow, though, at our thing.
I've heard 35.
Okay.
50 or 60, I don't think would have fit.
I think that might be over exaggerated. I don't remember exactly the number.
Dozens, though.
Yeah,
Dozens. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And that's one of those cool things that the activist community does up here on a yearly basis is they welcome people into their homes and their community centers for Thanksgiving.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
From Future Story News in Washington, I'm Chris Jones. Numerous Ukrainian cities were left without power for most of Thursday after Russia fired a barrage of missiles at power generation facilities. Engineers shut down all 4 of Ukraine's nuclear power plants as a safety precaution, cutting off millions of people to heating and water supply in some places. The Ministry of Energy said it was the first time in 40 years they had all been shut down simultaneously. Meanwhile, the Polish government has asked Germany to further support Ukraine with air defense missiles, following growing concerns within NATO about the security situation on the Polish-Ukrainian border. From Berlin, Trent Murray reports.
After a stray Ukrainian air defense missile crossed the border into Poland last week, killing 2 Polish nationals, Berlin had reached out to Warsaw to offer a Patriot air defense system to be placed on its eastern border. While Poland initially accepted the offer, Wednesday's aerial bombardment of Ukraine by Russian cruise missiles saw the Polish government change its stance, instead asking Germany to send the Patriot battery to Ukraine instead.
The Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda have signed a deal to end months of fighting between Congolese forces and rebels of the M23 group in eastern DRC. Chris Ochamringa has more from Kinshasa.
Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi signed the agreement with Rwanda's Foreign Minister Vincent Biruta in Luanda. Rwandan President Paul Kagame did not show up for the talks. Relations between him and his Congolese counterpart have been strained since the resurgence of the M23 rebels in eastern DRC last November. The DRC government accuses Rwanda of backing the M23 rebels, a charge that Rwanda has repeatedly denied.
And UK businesses and unions are are urging the government not to scrap a range of European Union laws. In a joint letter, several influential groups called on ministers to withdraw its retained EU law bill, warning it would put vital protections at risk. Sally Patterson has more in London.
When the UK left the European Union in 2020, it copied over thousands of EU laws relating to farming, immigration, workers' pay, and much more. Almost 3 years later, up to 4,000 pieces of legislation could be scrapped under the retained EU law bill. In their open letter, businesses and unions warn such a move would cause significant confusion and disruption. The groups also say that the bill could endanger important worker, consumer and environmental rights derived from EU law, including holiday pay. But a government spokesperson said the bill would ensure the UK's laws and regulations best fit the needs of the country. Sally Patterson, London.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can join the show here on this Christmas. I did it again.
You did it again.
I did it again. I swear I haven't been drinking today.
It's a war on Thanksgiving is what it is.
It's a Thanksgiving edition of the show.
Now that you mention it, I'm actually surprised that Bonnie doesn't have, Christmas decorations up already.
I don't think... Did she do Christmas last year?
There was,
I don't think she did.
No, the Christmas tree was Jackie, wasn't it?
No, I think she did have a little tree. Bonnie did have a teeny little tree here last year. That's true.
Valentine's Day had the hearts and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. She had something.
There's other holidays here and there that she
she's got the fall-y stuff. She's got the fall stuff going on in here right now.
That's true.
And she had some
I
Halloween.
prefer that.
Yeah, for sure. I do as well. The number is 603-283-6160. That's our number. You can bring up anything you want. We're going to get into some COVID-related news where there's a new documentary film that's already being banned from the big platforms, from what I understand.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to talk
Not
about
surprised.
it. Yeah. Died Suddenly is the name of it. That's on the way here tonight. Plus, Arya, you've got some statistics about people who are vaccinated and how often they are dying these days. Apparently, they're the majority of COVID deaths. We'll talk about that. Your calls and thoughts are welcome. Let's go to Joe. He's in Maryland. Joe, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, Joe. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just called to wish the Free Talk Live family happy Thanksgiving.
Unfortunately, you just got into a bad cell, and we couldn't hear what you said there.
Say it again.
Positive prayers for Joa.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. What are you grateful for here on Thanksgiving, Joe?
Well, I'm grateful I'm still alive because I was in two pretty...
Oh, you broke up again. Unfortunately, we could not hear what you said. You were into something?
I was two bad accidents where I could have been killed.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
And none were my fault and stuff like that.
Damn.
So I'm laid up in bed, but...
Well, I'm also glad you're alive.
But I'm still kicking, man.
Thank you, Joe. We're glad you're out there, and thank you for listening. We're going to let you go, though, because it's not a great connection tonight. But happy
Joe.
Thanksgiving. Appreciate your thoughts. The number here is 603-283-6160.
Yeah, sorry about that. It really was digitizing out there.
Yeah, it was hard to understand. Let's go to David. He's in New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, advertise, market, and promote. Hey, Ian, don't worry about people thinking you're drinking if you're slurring your words or whatever on the radio. All the great radio stars do that, like Clyde Lewis and Eddie Aragon here at Kiva. You know, I nicknamed Eddie. I think Eddie's laughing right now if he's listening. I nicknamed Eddie Dewey. And
you're referring to the program director and owner of Kiva, which is our affiliate in Albuquerque. Great guy who's actually putting us on the air right now. We are actually specially on Kiva this afternoon, and it's afternoon drive basically there in Mountain Time Zone where we're on. And he put us on yesterday, and he's got us on today, and he's got us on tomorrow as well. And we talked about you actually the last time I talked to Eddie, David, just so you know.
Did. I live right in the front of Eddie's mind 24/7, right, Eddie?
It's probably because you call all the time, but sure.
What great things did Eddie Aragon say about David Olson?
He had nothing but nice things to say about you as a caller, David.
See, I knew it, Arya. See, take that, Arya. Eddie's.
What were you calling about tonight?
All I said was you call all the time. I didn't say he had anything negative to say about you.
Were you just calling to drag people through the mud tonight, David?
No. There's a point. There's a point to dragging Eddie Aragon through the mud. Eddie. Well, first of all, Eddie, what are you doing? Only playing the first 2 hours of Free Talk Live. You need to be playing all three of them, Eddie. We don't.
Well, I don't think that's the best way to persuade somebody is to, essentially become accusatory towards
Eddie, you
them.
piece of crap! Why are you doing this?
Thanks for the call tonight. Not a
I've
very
never
grateful.
met Eddie. I don't think he's a piece of crap.
No,
he sounds like a really nice guy.
He's a good guy who puts us on the air, and we certainly appreciate that. Not the best approach, David. Not an approach full of gratitude, right? Like that's
like,
what you.
Thanks, but no Thanksgiving. Right.
For David, you mean?
Yeah.
No,
thanks for calling in.
You want to show people appreciation if you actually want them to do something more for you in the future. You don't accuse them and demand from them what you want from them, because then they're going to be turned off, right? Like that's just not how it works. Maybe that's why David lives alone by himself out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
It could be. I'm just speculating.
I don't think that's necessarily bad. I was talking with a friend earlier who is in the same situation.
Yeah.
No family to speak of, not in a relationship, and they're like, I'm so lonely today. I'm like, I don't know what your problem is. I've been hanging around a bathrobe playing guitar all day. It's been perfect. And what about this loneliness? It's not loneliness, it's solitude. It's just a matter of perspective. I enjoy it.
That's a good point.
And I imagine David, he's chosen this for himself. He seems to enjoy it as well. So I don't think it's sad.
Well, I have my moments too, and I understand where he comes from if that's the case. So.
Well, you don't end up living in a trailer in the middle of Mexico on $12 a day or whatever he does, unless you want that.
I don't even think he's living in a trailer. I think he's got like a
Is it
shack
like a
or something.
camper?
I don't
Okay.
know. But anyway, the number's
like the Unabomber.
603-283-6160. But yeah, hopefully most people are thinking about gratitude today instead of being accusatory towards people. But I would like to say that I'm grateful that you guys are here, and grateful that we have an amazing group of liberty-minded people here in New Hampshire that have come together. I was just looking at some of the photos online of the various different acts, so let's call them activist Thanksgivings, that are going on all across the state here today. There was one in Manchester that you attended, Joa, and you seem well fed.
Oh, yeah. I got seconds, yeah.
And then there was one out on the seacoast as well at what they call the Shell, which is a very cool place. Finally got to go there the first time on Halloween this year to check out
really?
the location.
See, I haven't been there yet.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hike from here. It's like a 2-hour drive, but it was cool. They got a nice little place, and it's well attended, it appears. So the community here is just unmatched. There's nothing like this anywhere else out there for liberty-minded folks.
If there was something I was really thankful for was finding this community and the Free State Project for putting all this together and developing it over the years, and it's just an amazing, beautiful thing that you can be a part of too if you move here.
It really is amazing. My grandmother, she interacts with me via text message regularly. She was under the impression that I had nowhere to go for Thanksgiving because that's how so many people are. They're like, you go to your family and that's it. That's the only possibility.
Right.
The reality of activists or chosen families getting together voluntarily and enjoying it, even if they're not related by blood, that's just completely foreign to most people.
Sure.
And here in New Hampshire, it happens
it's normal
all the time among liberty activists to the extent that we don't even think about it.
But it's like the people I want to be around, like going home to your family, you don't really always want to be around them. Yeah. And you can talk freely too with people in this community. You can talk freely and not, expect judgment or anything.
Yeah, you won't start a fight or anything like that.
Right, exactly. And they're not going to be offended if you didn't like their potatoes, or it's like, oh, you don't like the potatoes? Okay, someone else ate it all. It's not a big deal. It's like, I'm just saying.
Generally, I don't tell people if I don't like their food at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Everything was really good tonight.
Yeah, I'm usually just grateful to have such a choice and a variety from folks, and usually it's really good stuff, because usually people do their best, right?
What I was
they
getting
bring
at
their
is
best
that
dish.
I was getting at is people are honest with each other, and when you go around your family, they're not always honest. They're trying to put on a facade to, like it's a show off time,
I generally frown upon white lies because I think it's arrogant to lie to people. You're sort of assuming that they can't handle the truth.
Right.
But as a general rule, if I'm eating someone's dish and they ask me how it was, I may not necessarily lie to them, but I will tell them the truth in the most flattering way possible. Instead of saying, "Oh, it was absolutely horrible," I'd be like, "Well, I didn't want to go back for seconds. Kept it down." I don't think I would say kept it down.
Actually, I was the only person tonight that actually thought I thought it was crab salad, like a crab vegetable like melody thing. It was actually chicken, and I was like, that tastes like crab. I was
That's
like,
weird.
And no one liked it. I was like the only one that was eating it, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I went back for more.
Something out there for everybody. And also, I want to say thank you to all of our great radio stations like Eddie Aragon over at Kiva and the other 180-some radio affiliates that we have. Thank you, guys. Thanks to all of our advertisers, supporters, our members of the AMPS program at amps.freetalklive.com, and everybody that listens to the show. You guys make all this possible. There's more coming up, though. It's Free Talk Live. Do you prefer to listen to Free Talk Live on your schedule on demand? You can find the link to our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com, which features the daily digest of our radio show 7 days a week. Just drop our RSS feed into your favorite podcast client or subscribe to us on the large platforms if you prefer, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, and Stitcher. All the links are at feeds.freetalklive.com. If the daily digests aren't enough for you and you really don't want to miss a moment of Free Talk Live, you can always sign up for our AMPS Patreon at amps.freetalklive.com for just $5 a month, and you'll get the full radio show without recorded commercials. Plus, you'll help us advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That's amps.freetalklive.com to join AMPS, or feeds.freetalklive.com to get our main podcast, or find us on the major podcast platforms.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can join the show here, bring up whatever you like. The number is 603-283-6160. Thanksgiving Day edition. We're here in the studio.
Yeah, you did it.
I did it right. Yeah. It's hard to find good help. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Joa.
And Aria.
And by the way, Free Talk Live would like to remind you that if you worked or lived at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988, and you've suffered from cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, you might be entitled to compensation. There were contaminants in the drinking water there over those years and may have led to those diseases. So if you or a loved one are eligible, you can find out by calling the following number, although there may be some deadlines to file, so don't hold back. Just call 888-918-1037. That's 888-918-1037. If you were at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988, and you've had a serious health issue, money's already set aside. That's 888-918-1037. As we continue here, let's go back to your calls. And we got some news and a documentary film about COVID and the vaccine. But first, let's talk to Sarah. She's in New Mexico. Go ahead, Sarah.
Huh?
Yes.
Oh, here's something. What station are you on, the Eddie Aragon? Is it AM or FM?
It's Kiva FM in Albuquerque, and we have a full list of our radio affiliates over at affiliates.freetalklive.com. So anybody that wants to look and see if there's a station in their area can go and do that at affiliates.freetalklive.com.
Sarah, you had no idea we were on in Albuquerque?
No, she doesn't listen to the show.
But she listens to herself.
It's FM?
She's doing it right now.
So what station is it?
How do you not know? How do you not know about Kiva FM if you're a talk radio listener in Albuquerque?
Well, you know what? They don't take my call, so it's on an AM station.
Well,
yeah,
we got you on Kiva FM.
No, it's not. Actually, it may be. Was it on an AM station? I think it was at one time.
A lot of them do both, I've noticed.
Oh, yeah, it is still on AM. It's on AM. It's AM 1600, FM 93.7.
1600. Well, you know what? The Eddie Aragon, I did talk to him, and he was running for mayor. He was one of the candidates.
Yeah, that's right.
So I am aware. And then he claimed that he was part African American. That was kind of interesting that he followed the train line.
Why does that matter?
No, it's just amazing that he came out with it because he looks so. You can't really see any of that when you just look at him. He looks like.
Makes you wonder why you care about it.
Well,
if you can't notice it, why does it matter?
He made a big deal about it, which is why he did it. I don't know why.
Sarah, you literally just said it's amazing. What is amazing about it? I mean, that was the word you used to describe his ethnicity. What's amazing about it?
A lot of people are part black, and they look mostly white, and they're mostly Spanish, and they don't never know that.
Yeah, so it's ordinary and mundane. There's nothing amazing about it. But why do you find it amazing?
Well, I don't know. He used it for campaign purposes or something like to influence vote or something like that.
He exploited his skin color for popularity?
Wait, because someone told you that they have a heritage background, particularly this African background that's
exploiting?
No, yeah, that's exploiting.
I have no idea, but
well, you're making the claim.
She has no idea.
We're the first time hearing it, and you're the one making the claim. Am I correct?
Well, no, he mentioned it. I guess he was trying to get,
he mentioned it, but you're making the claim about it, right? That he used it for political gain.
I have no idea what the point was.
Did you like it when he said it? Did it make you likely to vote for him? Did you vote for him?
Well, no, he was running on a Republican ticket. That leads me to think that you guys are Republicans too.
Why the hell would you think that?
So wait, so you just considered voting for him, but only about 2/3 of him, right?
No, apparently he's 4.6% black, according to the media article at KOAT Action 7 News. There, it's 4.6%, and I don't know why that matters to anybody at all. Like, what are his beliefs? That's what matters. What are his policies? What is it that he stands for? And no, we're not Republican shills on this show. This show is a libertarian show. Sarah, you would think that for the number of years you've been calling Free Talk Live, and I realize you don't listen regularly to the show, but for the number of years, I mean, it's been, most of a decade, I feel like?
But please remind us, Sarah, what your voice sounds like. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the thing is, that guy that keeps cutting off, that guy got into a 2 wreck and almost got killed? Well, I just want to say,
what?
Our city has a new
the guy they call him before.
ordinance.
No, she's talking about getting into a wreck.
On pedestrian fatalities.
Sarah, we don't live in Albuquerque, right?
I know she's talking. Wait, you were on hold. She was on hold when we were on hold with the guy that we talked to who was having bad signal issues.
Joe.
He got into a car wreck. Yeah, thank you. Joe in Maryland. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he said he got into 2 car wrecks and he almost died. He's so thankful that he's alive. Well, I just want to say that we got a new ordinance that's going to cut down on pedestrian fatality. And my thing is, why is that a new ordinance? I thought it was always an ordinance.
I'd like to note that the guy that you're talking about did not say he was demanding a new ordinance. He did not get upset at the car companies. He did not get mad at the status quo. He just has, he accepts that he got into this car accident and that accidents happen. And he's grateful to be alive.
Sarah, you think that there's this new ordinance is going to save lives? Can you please tell us how?
Well, I'm just kind of peculiar. It's like, what new ordinance? I mean,
that was our question.
Didn't you call to tell us about it?
Well, the whole thing is, I don't know what the hell it is. I don't know what it is.
Why are you calling to tell us about something you don't know what it is?
Well, it's just very peculiar.
Are you on drugs?
I hope so.
No, think about it. Why do they have a new ordinance when they should be already?
Why are you calling about an ordinance? You don't.
No, she's right. We need a new ordinance for just about everything, especially callers that don't know what they're calling in for. We need an ordinance for that too.
Why on a Thanksgiving Day are you calling National Talk Radio to talk about something you don't even know what you're talking about? I mean, normally, Sarah, you're not informed very well, but at least you have a topic. At least you have something you've heard in the news you want to comment on.
That's what it is. So there's a new ordinance that's going to address pedestrian fatality.
But you don't know how.
But why a new one? I thought it should be in the books already.
Here's the secret.
What are they going to do?
Here's the secret for you, Sarah. It doesn't matter what they pass. They're never going to stop or slow down people from hitting other people on the roads. It doesn't matter what ordinances they pass, because whenever you hit somebody, you're breaking an ordinance, right? Like you're violating some sort of law, some sort of statute.
Hey, Sarah, do you cross the street because the sign said it's safe to cross, right? So when this says the countdown and it beeps at you, right, when you cross the road, do you look at that when you cross the road to cross the road?
Oh no, not here! You'll get killed. No, you got to make sure that.
So wait, okay. You proved the point. You proved the point then. So
she's saying she looks at the cars, right?
Right. You look at the cars, which is like a rational person should do. But do you think because they put in the countdown and the sign that says it's okay to walk, do you think that solved anything? Or do you think people look at that sign and start walking because the sign told them to? Next thing you know, they're getting smashed by a car because they didn't look both ways. What is so you're saying you don't follow the sign or the signal. So you think that ordinance is useless?
Counterproductive even.
Well, I mean, it sounds really good, but I mean, what are they going to do in addition to what they're doing now?
I'll tell you.
That's the question you're supposed to have the answer to,
I'll give her
Sarah.
a solution.
She didn't answer your question, Joe.
I know she didn't, but she's not going to. And here's a solution, Sarah. What I would suggest you doing in a voluntary aspect in your neighborhood where you take your walking routes, I want you to put a bucket at the intersections, at each corner of the intersection, put a bucket, and with flags, red, bright flags. And then every time you cross the street, you raise the flag and walk across the street and then put it into the other bucket. There you go. You can voluntarily save a bunch of lives by you doing this. Will you be willing to do that, save lives?
She doesn't have money for flags.
Well,
she's got money.
I am trying to save lives. It's that people just accept these fatality as part of life. And
she's not willing to do a thing. She doesn't want to.
She wants the government to do it.
She wants the government to do everything. Her idea of getting involved is to call a talk radio show every night and talk about it as though
it's not working, Sarah. It's not working.
Yeah, so it's going to do something.
It is working because you know what? We got more speeding cameras all across America.
Congratulations. Are you thankful for those speeding cameras?
I don't think you calling our show helped that, Sarah. Call me cynical, but I don't see the connection.
Yeah.
The number here is 603. Thank you, Sarah.
Wait.
Nah.
She's always got
Sarah.
She's always got one.
I don't mean to be mean, Sarah, but you got to call in with some real good content.
I'm even grateful for Sarah.
Try a little harder.
Calling the show.
She is our best caller.
I'm grateful for yams that prevent diabetes. That statement has not been evaluated by the FDA.
Hour number 3 is on the way. Speaking of the FDA, we can get into the vaccinations and deaths ostensibly from those. There's a new documentary out about it coming up. Gold and silver. You can own the most stable assets in recorded history with BullionMax.com. Buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals shipped fully insured directly to your home. Free Talk Live can get you their silver starter kit at employee pricing. Just go to BullionMax.com/FTL. It includes 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products plus a free gold back. This offer is limited to 1 per household, so get yours now. Go to BullionMax.com/FTL. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Future Story News in Washington, I'm Chris Jones. Numerous Ukrainian cities were left without power for most of Thursday after Russia fired a barrage of missiles at power generation facilities. Engineers shut down all 4 of Ukraine's nuclear power plants as a safety precaution, cutting off millions of people to heating and water supply in some places. The Ministry of Energy said it was the first time in 40 years they had all been shut down simultaneously. Meanwhile, the Polish government has asked Germany to further support Ukraine with air defense missiles, following growing concerns within NATO about the security situation on the Polish-Ukrainian border. From Berlin, Trent Murray reports.
After a stray Ukrainian air defense missile crossed the border into Poland last week, killing 2 Polish nationals, Berlin had reached out to Warsaw to offer a Patriot air defense system to be placed on its eastern border. While Poland initially accepted the offer, Wednesday's aerial bombardment of Ukraine by Russian cruise missiles saw the Polish government change its stance, instead asking Germany to send the Patriot battery to Ukraine instead.
The Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda have signed a deal to end months of fighting between Congolese forces and rebels of the M23 group in eastern DRC. Chris Ochamringa has more from Kinshasa.
Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi signed the agreement with Rwanda's Foreign Minister Vincent Biruta in Luanda. Rwandan President Paul Kagame did not show up for the talks. Relations between him and his Congolese counterpart have been strained since the resurgence of the M23 rebels in eastern DRC last November. The DRC government accuses Rwanda of backing the M23 rebels, a charge that Rwanda has repeatedly denied.
And UK businesses and unions are urging the government not to scrap a range of European Union laws. In a joint letter, several influential groups called on ministers to withdraw its retained EU law bill, warning it would put vital protections at risk. Sally Patterson has more in London.
When the UK left the European Union in 2020, it copied over thousands of EU laws relating to farming, immigration, workers' pay, and much more. Almost 3 years later, up to 4,000 pieces of legislation could be scrapped under the retained EU law bill. In their open letter, businesses and unions warned such a move would cause significant confusion and disruption. The groups also say that the bill could endanger important worker, consumer and environmental rights derived from EU law, including holiday pay. But a government spokesperson said the bill would ensure the UK's laws and regulations best fit the needs of the country. Sally Patterson, London.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking in more detail today at the spat between FIFA and several European soccer associations over the last-minute decision to ban players from wearing rainbow armbands, illustrating support for the LGBT community. Homosexuality, of course, is outlawed in Qatar, where the World Cup is being hosted, but the announcement by FIFA's president Gianni Infantino that players wearing the armbands could face the yellow card and other sanctions led to national teams immediately ditching them. Oliver Brown is the chief sports writer for the Daily Telegraph, and he's in Doha, where he was not astonished to hear that news.
Not particularly surprised, I must say. I did think this was gesture politics from the get-go. We have to recall that just 10, 11 days ago, when Gareth Southgate made the squad announcement, he was adamant neither he nor his team were going to be muzzled by FIFA. And when the first challenge came, England just capitulated. This is a FIFA fiefdom, if you like, and what Gianni Infantino's word is law. I mean, whenever he goes around Doha, what FIFA says goes, I'm afraid, within the World Cup.
He points to real signs of courage this week in Qatar, particularly that of the Iranian team, whose players refused to sing the country's national anthem, an act of support for the protests taking place across Iran. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
To recap our top stories, numerous Ukrainian cities were left without power for most of Thursday after Russia fired a barrage of missiles at power generation facilities. The Polish government has asked Germany to further support Ukraine with air defense missiles. The Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda have signed a deal to end months of fighting between Congolese forces and rebels of the M23 group. And UK businesses and unions are urging the government not to scrap a range of European Union laws. That's the latest feature story news. Chris Jones reporting.
A job applicant totally nails an interview with the person who will make his life a living hell for the next 5 years. And adjusting several sliders on a recording studio's mixing console pays off big time. This is the Onion Week in Review. This week, a study published by researchers at Johns Hopkins University revealed a direct correlation between breastfeeding and knowing exactly what's best for other people at all times. Overwhelming evidence indicated that the moment mothers begin breastfeeding, they develop a highly honed sense of what is wrong with others' approach to life, and were able to loudly enumerate those faults with total confidence in their accuracy. Researchers noted that the practice greatly boosted a young mother's immunity to the viewpoints of others. And in this week's Tech Report, a startup is very casual about its dress code and benefits. In other news, the Secretary of Interior says knocking down the Rocky Mountains could really open up the nation. And a woman is not going to let her husband of 60 years drag her into death at the same time.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
is Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the third hour of the program. China is going back into serious lockdown status in many big cities, including Beijing. We can talk about that on the way here tonight. We actually have some other updates on the whole COVID vaccination situation. I know, Aria, you've got some statistics showing people who are vaccinated are now the ones who are dying the most from COVID, supposedly. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Joa,
and Aria.
But Joa, you wanted to talk about this new vaccination movie, a movie called Died Suddenly, that is apparently relatively difficult to find out there. As I understand it, some of the major platforms and such are taking down posts about this movie.
Well, forget them. Just go to Odyssey.
It will certainly be on Odyssey.
Yeah, I'll double check and make sure it is there.
Absolutely on Odyssey.
It is? You've seen it there?
Yes.
Okay. What is it?
So, Died Suddenly is a film, or a small documentary. It's only a little over an hour, and it has to do with people getting the shot, the jab, and then dying.
The COVID-19 vaccine.
And dying suddenly, yes, yeah. And it goes really deep into detail regarding the statistics, like you're going to talk about, and what comes out of them, literally.
Physically. What is coming out of people's arteries, right?
Yes. When they're in the morgue, and the what do they call them? Shoot, what's the people's name?
Morticians?
Morticians. There's a morticians, apparently a collective, or like a nationwide group of sorts of morticians that are speaking out about clogged arteries. And how egregious the clogged arteries are in perfectly healthy people, typically, other than this part of them. And they've shown that on all of these vaccine recipients, they're getting these clogged arteries and dying. And it's a
or medical examiner, maybe that's the right term. I don't know.
Well, they are medically examining them, but this is during the embalming process. They have to remove things and drain blood and that sort of thing, and they can't do that. They can't drain blood because the clogged arteries are preventing the blood from draining. And what they're also seeing, just a brief, I don't want to spoil it too much. I think everyone should go see it. It's kind of graphic.
It's only about an hour long. It is quite graphic.
Yes, so you're going to see
if
an
like hospital scenes make you uncomfortable.
Yes,
you're going to have a tough time with this one. There's literally scenes, multiple scenes, and I didn't see the whole thing. Bonnie was watching it here in the studio one night while I was getting some work done recently, but I heard it, and then I did go and I looked at multiple scenes, and I saw, having not even seen the whole thing, many scenes of these examiners or morticians or whoever, embalmers, like reaching into people's arteries and pulling out, we're talking about cadavers here, right? Pulling out these long strands of whatever the hell it is. It's not clear what it is.
Like sort of matrixy, white threaded sort of elements to them, alongside with the blood clots. So you'll see really interesting irregular patterns. And I'm no medical expert.
They
I don't know
say this is
it.
not normal. The people in this movie say they've never seen anything like this before. But what's not clear, you said protein. Did they actually analyze these things? Because that's what I didn't hear.
Yeah, they analyze them pretty thoroughly. And see, I don't know. This is it's kind of a weird concept because it's not. I don't know if any real medical professionals are in the movie. I got to watch it again to really.
I think they had at least one doctor in there, but
okay. I don't know. There are people of all different degrees speaking in the film, but like specifically when it comes to this, they didn't really make full determination or that this is exactly the correlation, right? It's just they're showing you results. They're showing you, okay, here's the numbers.
Know for sure.
Here's these people.
Correlation isn't causation. So we know that it's correlative because we know that these are people who died, purportedly had taken the vaccine, and then they have all this weird stuff in their arteries that the experts supposedly say they've never seen before.
And they basically have proven the statistics are this correlation is the causation, right? But they want you to kind of...
Well, you can't prove that. You can never prove that correlation is causation.
Oh, yeah.
You can't prove it.
Right.
That's one of the benefits of, being able, for these companies, these vaccine manufacturers, they can just hide and say, well, we didn't do that.
Well, maybe
can't prove it.
If you watch the film, they might convince you too. I think this is a legit film. I think they did good research.
No, it's really interesting. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, I'm not saying I disbelieve the suggestion. I'm just saying you can never prove it. You just can't prove it.
Right.
But you can talk to professionals who will tell you, before the vaccine, numbers of dead babies, prior to being born were this, and then after the vaccine, the numbers of dead babies prior to being born were 10 times higher or whatever. And they look at some of those statistics as well. It's like,
But the statistical anomaly is like you cannot argue it. Like that's the point. It's like the statistics are really showing the connection, and you to be a determination if it's true or not. But it's pretty clear.
Right. Well, the goal of the movie should be to convince people and to give them a reasonable degree of certainty. I think the point Ian is making is that you can never have absolute certainty. You can never be 100% proven to be correct in a belief. However, you can be reasonably sure that what you're saying is right. Like you can be reasonably I've not seen this documentary, but you could presumably be reasonably sure that the vaccine is what is causing these anomalous deaths. Can never be absolutely sure.
It's creepy as hell, I'll tell you that. Watching these people pull these. I don't know how long these strands are. I mean, they are long.
And I don't know if you did you watch the whole thing? Or?
Like I said, I was in the room for it, so I kind of heard most of the whole thing, but I didn't actually watch.
One of the interesting things that came up, and they only showed this once, is that they had a vial of blood and they held a magnet to it, and if you can do this to your own blood, and yes, it has magnetic properties because it has iron in it, so you can move your blood a little bit with the magnet. But what this blood that they were showing seemed off. Like there was a lot of separation. Like your blood doesn't separate that easy. It'll harden. What do you call it? Coagulate before you could see a separation. And the separation is like it's a lot clearer, red, clear liquid, and then you have a gathering of material at the bottom, which was highly magnetic. And I'm trying to put two and two in my head. They didn't talk about this, but I think it might be graphene that they're throwing in there.
What is that?
Graphene is like a nanoparticle that has magnetic properties and can be aligned to form strands of carbon in your blood, right? But they take it takes an electrical charge for it to get there to start aligning itself. And the way this guy was playing with it just seemed really odd. It looked like a lot of the other graphene videos I've looked at.
And you think this is in the shot? The vaccination?
Yeah, potentially. And they saw a lot of this. They'll say like they saw what they thought was like coffee grinds in the blood, but it's actually the iron hardening really early in the process. It's just really strange. You got to look at it and see it for yourself. But
yeah, it's a creepy video, and it looks at basically the timetable after people started getting vaccinated and talking to people that are experts in this field, and it's definitely a movie that they quote unquote do not want you to see. So I would recommend it to anybody that's found the whole official line on COVID to be suspicious. If you've been someone who's questioned the official stance, the hospitals and the politicians and these drug companies, you definitely ought to see this
There's nothing more suspicious than, banning dissenting opinions. So, I mean, if this video is wrong, if this documentary is wrong, the way to address that isn't to repress it. It's to present a counter video. Get your own morticians and doctors out there to say, no, look, this is what's actually going on. They're being alarmist. They're exaggerating things. They're making things up. They're lying to you. Whatever the truth actually is, if what they're portraying in this documentary isn't the truth, present the truth.
And that sounds like Fauci speaking when you said that. Like, I'm not saying you are, but Fauci, didn't vaccinate his family. Bill Gates didn't vaccinate his family. Why are we listening to them if they're not actually doing the things that they're saying? It's really odd.
By the way, this is up right now on YouTube. Somebody apparently just put it on their own channel. Yeah, it's on YouTube
too. Yeah.
So it hasn't been taken down. I don't know if it doesn't look like this is like an official posting though. It's just on somebody's channel with 1,000 subscribers, so it may not last for very long.
YouTube will find it and take it down, I'm sure.
The number here is 603-283-6160. I mean, this is going to absolutely be labeled as quote-unquote medical misinformation. We're probably going to get a hit on YouTube just because strike because we're just talking about it.
Morticians can't give medical information. Think about that.
There's more coming up here in moments. You can join the show here. It is Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
This is novelist Tom Robbins. When my mother was diagnosed with glaucoma, her conservative Virginia physician told her there was only one treatment that might ease her pain and save her eyesight. That treatment was medical marijuana, which he could not prescribe. I offered to get her some and teach her how to use it effectively, but my father objected because marijuana was against the law. So my mother, who loved to read and walk in nature, was condemned to grow cruelly, unnecessarily blind. Tragedies like this happen all the time, but they don't have to keep happening. To learn more about medical marijuana, call the Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or visit them on the web at mpp.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can join the show here. You can bring up whatever you want. This Thanksgiving Day edition, the number 603-283-6160. Here tonight, you've got Ian,
Joe,
and Arya.
And don't forget, you can join us at freetalklive.com. If you like what we do at Free Talk Live and you want us to continue doing it and expand, then you can help us by becoming one of our AMPS members, as Brianna Hansen has done over at amps.freetalklive.com. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. It's a way for you to help us get the word out about freedom, because that's what we do here 7 nights a week, even on holidays. We are here live. And you can join Brianna over at amps.freetalklive.com. That's amps.freetalklive.com. You get some perks like access to the AMP-only podcast that has our full radio show without the recorded commercials. So go and get that and more at amps.freetalklive.com. We definitely appreciate the support, and you can do it with your PayPal account or your Visa, MasterCard, credit, debit, that sort of thing. It's a Patreon. So go to amps.freetalklive.com. We were talking about the Died Suddenly film that I have seen most of, I guess I could say, and Joey, you've seen the whole thing as well. Very interesting movie. It's just over an hour long, so it's not like a huge commitment to sit down and watch this. It's well shot, well edited. It's a really nicely produced movie. It keeps your attention.
For sure.
So it is available on Odyssey, as you guys suggested. I did find a link to one of them, and I just put it on our social media account, which is at ftl@social.freetalklive.com. You can follow our account there, social.freetalklive.com. So, Aria, what other news related to the vaccine and COVID statistics did you have to share?
Well, apparently, this is according to India TV. I don't know where they found it, but they managed to get it into the mainstream, news cycle, because I found the article on Drudge Report. In a startling revelation, and I don't think it's that startling, but whatever, a Washington Post analysis has found that more vaccinated people are now dying of the COVID-19 disease, and 58% of coronavirus deaths in August in the United States were people who were vaccinated or boosted.
Wow. Well, that's working real well.
Yeah. So the majority of people, 58% of people dying from COVID-19 are vaccinated or boosted.
You remember when they were saying the vaccine would be 100% effective?
It's 100% effective.
I dread to think that
not as effective as they want it.
I dread to think of any scientist having the nerve to stand there and call anything 100% anything.
Yeah, but they did. But they weren't scientists. It was, Joe Biden and talking heads on television.
And Bill Gates.
Probably him, too.
For the first time since the beginning of the pandemic in early 2020, a majority of Americans dying from COVID. I don't know why they felt they need to repeat that. In September of 2021, vaccinated people were just 23% of coronavirus fatalities. In January,
December of 2021?
Yes.
They said? Wasn't that when it...
No, in September of 2021.
Oh, okay.
So a little over a year ago, 14 months ago.
So it had been going. So the vaccine started basically at the beginning of 2021, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, and vaccinated people were just 23% of coronavirus fatalities. In January and February of this year, it was up to 42%. And now it's up to 58%.
Wow.
So it's got a clear trajectory at this point.
Come on, people. Don't you realize what's going on?
They clearly don't. And nothing.
You got to go get your booster.
That's what they're saying.
Just to be safe.
I have no regrets whatsoever about not getting the COVID-19 vaccine.
Me neither.
I don't know too many people who are like, man, I really wish I hadn't gotten this vaccine, but I have no regrets. We can no longer say this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, said Kaiser Family Foundation Vice President Cynthia Cox, who conducted the analysis on behalf of the Washington Post, because that's what they've been saying for the last year.
That's what Joe Biden said.
Yeah, this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Well,
no,
it's demonstrably not at this point. Outgoing White House Chief Medical Advisor Anthony Fauci has emphasized the safety and efficacy of the approved COVID vaccines.
That he won't give to his family?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what you said. I can't imagine that would be unknown to people. I've never heard in the last 2 years, I've never heard that Fauci and his family wouldn't get vaccinated.
Yeah, no, he said it. He said it on national TV. He's like, "Oh yeah, no, I don't know what my family's gonna do, but we're not going that route," or something like that to that effect. If you watch the Died Suddenly, you'll see the clip.
Wow.
Well, Fauci said that coronavirus vaccine effectiveness wanes over time, and the disease shouldn't be compared to other vaccine-treatable illnesses because of new emerging variants, just like we told them would happen with a cold vaccine. It evolves too quickly, and you can't have a vaccine that remains effective against it.
Yeah, let's not forget that all of this vaccination and all this fear is over like you said, a cold variant that doesn't kill 0.01% of the people who come down with it.
Yeah, it's like 0.003% or something like that, isn't it?
It's very small. Very small.
So are we saying that the numbers of people that are dying have surpassed the people that died from the actual virus without vaccine, all that stuff? I'm trying to understand. It's like, is these numbers of people dying higher than the actual COVID?
Well, she's saying the people who are dying of COVID are mostly vaccinated now.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So it doesn't.
So there's other people who die ostensibly from the vaccine, but wouldn't be counted in those numbers, right? So if somebody dies because of what do they call it, the heart condition that people are having, there's
myocarditis.
Thank you, myocarditis. If somebody dies because of that, if somebody has a heart attack at age 25 or whatever, Bonnie's my wife's she's got a younger brother who's in the military, and somebody in his mid-20s just died in the military barracks. One of his buddies, his roommate or something like that, literally
what?
just died. They haven't determined that yet.
It's probably myocarditis. There's a decent chance.
He's a young man in his 20s. I mean, young men in their 20s shouldn't just be keeling over and dying in general, right? And he was vaccinated.
Died suddenly.
Yeah.
My message.
But that guy doesn't get counted as a COVID death.
No, none of them will ever, or a vaccine death. None of them will ever get counted properly because you can't prove
it.
that it's a vaccine death. That's what the mainstream media always says in their fact-checking articles about these things. Look, there's no proof this was caused by the vaccine. It's like, well, of course not. But if you're being honest here, you point out that that's an impossible metric.
That's right.
And it doesn't have anything to do with the actual truth of the situation.
It's a great cover, too, of what they created.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't prove that the Empire State Building didn't fall on them and then magically reappear back where it was before. You can't prove any of this. My message and my final message, maybe the final message I give you from this podium, is that please, for your own safety, yes, for that of your family, get your updated COVID-19 shot as soon as you're eligible to protect yourself, your family, and your community.
You know, are they still tracking that? Do you remember like a year or two ago or whatever, they actually had the statistics, I guess it wasn't 2 years ago, a year ago, they had those maps, like Google had a map showing each country in the world and what percentage of people had received the first vaccination and then how many people had received 2 vaccinations, and that number went down, right?
You bring up a great point. Go ahead, finish.
So the number of people who got 1 vaccine shot was higher than the number of people who got 2. And so the question is, how much has it dropped since it's become 3 and 4 and 5? Like, how is it like a steps that have been, like a step pattern?
I'm sure it is.
Yeah,
and they're probably not advertising it for exactly that reason.
How bad is it now? I mean, as far as bad, how many people are refusing to get 3, 4, and 5?
How many boosters are you supposed to be at now? What number are they at?
I have no idea.
Are you at 5 shots yet?
Watch died suddenly because they show that the highest vaccinated country was Australia, and the highest percentage rate of deaths with COVID shots is Australia.
I think it was also the highest country with the dead babies, too.
Yes, that too, yeah.
There's more coming up here in moments.
That's what I was referring to.
603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
From Future Story News in Washington, I'm Chris Jones. Numerous Ukrainian cities were left without power for most of Thursday after Russia fired a barrage of missiles at power generation facilities. Engineers shut down all 4 of Ukraine's nuclear power plants as a safety precaution, cutting off millions of people to heating and water supply in some places. The Ministry of Energy said it was the first time in 40 years they had all been shut down simultaneously simultaneously. Meanwhile, the Polish government has asked Germany to further support Ukraine with air defense missiles, following growing concerns within NATO about the security situation on the Polish-Ukrainian border. From Berlin, Trent Murray reports.
After a stray Ukrainian air defense missile crossed the border into Poland last week, killing 2 Polish nationals, Berlin had reached out to Warsaw to offer a Patriot air defense system to be placed on its eastern border. While Poland initially accepted the offer, Wednesday's aerial bombardment of Ukraine by Russian cruise missiles saw the Polish government change its stance, instead asking Germany to send the Patriot battery to Ukraine instead.
The Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda have signed a deal to end months of fighting between Congolese forces and rebels of the M23 group in eastern DRC. Chris Ochamringa has more from Kinshasa.
Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi signed the agreement with Rwanda's Foreign Minister Vincent Biruta in Luanda. Rwandan President Paul Kagame did not show up for the talks. Relations between him and his Congolese counterpart have been strained since the resurgence of the M23 rebels in eastern DRC last November. The DRC government accuses Rwanda of backing the M23 rebels, a charge that Rwanda has repeatedly denied.
And UK businesses and unions are urging the government not to scrap a range of European Union laws. In a joint letter, several influential groups called on ministers to withdraw its retained EU law bill, warning it would put vital protections at risk. Sally Patterson has more in London.
When the UK left the European Union in 2020, it copied over thousands of EU laws relating to farming, immigration, workers' pay, and much more. Almost 3 years later, up to 4,000 pieces of legislation could be scrapped under the retained EU law bill. In their open letter, businesses and unions warn such a move would cause significant confusion and disruption. The groups also say that the bill could endanger important worker, consumer and environmental rights derived from EU law, including holiday pay, but a government spokesperson said the bill would ensure the UK's laws and regulations best fit the needs of the country. Sally Patterson, London.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. The phones are open and you can join the show here. Bring up whatever you want. We're here live on this Thanksgiving Day. And throughout the holidays, you can always join us. 7 to 10 at night Eastern Time. That's when we're live. If you're listening later on one of our great radio affiliates, then you can always call in during those live hours and talk to us about whatever you want. We actually had a guy on the line. He just unfortunately dropped off. That's too bad. He was actually a radio listener there in Chattanooga. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. He wanted to talk about the dollar and the situation that the dollar is facing all around the planet right now, with the potential for the various different government gangs all around the planet that hold the dollar potentially dumping those dollar reserves, and that would be a very very difficult situation indeed for the central bank in the United States.
If I had better alternatives, like if I was allowed to use cryptocurrency, I would still be doing everything in my power to dump the dollar. And I mean, I still am. Yeah. I just, can't use crypto, so I'm limited to gold and silver and other things. But
which are probably really good choices right now, too.
So is crypto. And crypto's my primary choice. That's my preferred choice, but obviously it's not an option at the moment. But the dollar, it's a bad asset. It's toxic, and I don't want anything to do with it.
It's evil.
To say nothing of the wars it's affiliated with.
So you guys, you're welcome to call in about that issue or whatever you want. But we've been focusing on the situation with COVID, the vaccine, people dying at shockingly young ages and otherwise in good health. We're seeing these things happen again and again. There's now this movie, Died Suddenly, that takes a look at some of the numbers and takes a look at some of the stories behind people who have gotten the vaccine and then mysteriously passing away at young ages. Yeah, so it's an excellent documentary. I highly recommend it. Check it out. You can go find it at Odyssey. I did post a link on our social media at social.freetalklive.com. It's just over an hour long, so it's not going to take you a long time to check it out. And then we're going to get into the China situation because it's been a little while. We heard it was earlier this year where, God, I forgot what the city was.
Shanghai.
Thank you, Shanghai. With
one of the largest cities in the world, apparently.
I think it was like 25 million or 26 million people in Shanghai. It's bigger than any city in the United States, bigger than New York City. That was on total lockdown for something like 3 months before they finally started to slowly open up. Well, guess what? China's cracking down again, according to The Sun, the-sun.com, also Reuters with another report about it. But there are over 400 million people now in China that are on a lockdown status. 400 million.
Oh, my God.
That's nearly half their country.
It is almost, yeah.
I tell you, that's going to 400 million people just locked down to their home. That's going to affect global economics.
It is.
Well,
it is.
They have to be allowed to work. There's no way you can, gimp half of your workforce and be okay.
Well, some of them are being forced to stay in their factories, and so that's where the protests have actually come in.
We'll still get Christmas gifts.
Yeah, their protests have been happening, by the way, at the iPhone plant in China at a company called Foxconn. Have you guys heard anything about this?
I've heard horrific horror stories out about Foxconn going all the way back to long before COVID-19 of people trying to jump out of windows to kill themselves because it's
so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like slave labor, as far as I can tell.
So if you work in a factory like that, you may be trapped inside the factory.
Yikes.
And you've got, like, maybe, if you're lucky, you'll have a cot that you can sleep on somewhere if you're not just sleeping on the cold floor or something like that. Hundreds of workers, this is from Yahoo and Bloomberg News, at Apple's main iPhone making plant in China have clashed with security personnel as tensions boiled over after almost a month under tough restrictions intended to quash a COVID outbreak. Workers at the Foxconn Technology Group plant streamed out of dormitories in the early hours Wednesday, jostling and pushing past the white-clad guards. They vastly outnumbered, according to videos sent by a witness to portions of the protest. Several white-suited people pummeled a person lying on the ground with sticks. In another clip, see, this is for your health. Okay, this is what they're really concerned about, your health. That's why they're going to beat you to death with sticks, break your bones. According to the story here, and there's video, by the way, of a lot of this stuff. This Foxconn situation has been brewing for weeks.
It's hard to get these sort of videos and this information in general out of China.
That's true because of the restrictions.
Yeah, they have state-controlled news media, and that media doesn't say anything that the Chinese government doesn't explicitly authorize them to say. But there's always a way.
Onlookers yelled, "Fight!" as throngs of people forced their way past barricades. At one point, several surrounded an occupied police car and began rocking the vehicle while screaming incoherently. The protest started overnight over unpaid wages and fears of spreading infection, according to the witness, asking to remain anonymous for fear of repercussions. Several workers were injured, and anti-riot police arrived on the scene Wednesday to restore order. The person added, in one video, irate workers surrounded a silent, downcast manager in a conference room to voice grievances and question their COVID test results. It wasn't clear when the meeting took place. Quote, "I'm really scared about this place. We could all be COVID positive right now. You are sending us to death," another person said. So it sounds like they're being forced to work despite whatever the COVID testing circumstances are. They don't know. They're unclear about their COVID positivity or not. Of course, there's obviously a lot of fear in China surrounding COVID.
Well, I mean, they get all of their news from the government, so they don't even have the opportunity to be exposed to alternative ideas.
Yeah, they're not watching Died Suddenly in China. They're locked down. They're not seeing, the same alternative media that we are.
And look how their government's reacting to it. They have their zero COVID policy with even a single case. So if the people in China are terrified of COVID-19, it's because their government led them to be.
Correct.
And if you didn't know, China, every single person in China has a cell phone with an app on it.
That's right.
That allows them to enter buildings
or not
their own building that they live in, or grocery stores, or whatever store.
Only if it's got the green, code or whatever, right? Yep. If you're red, you're locked out. You can't go into those places.
Something that Elon has praised recently.
This is the vaccine passport?
Yes, basically.
I didn't know that all of China had one.
Every single person in China has. I forget the name of the app. It's like My something, but
My Health Check or some nonsense like that, I'm sure.
It's not even a health app. It's an app that everyone uses for everything, for purchasing things. So your bank account is attached to it, to your social media. It's all interconnected to this one app. WeChat. That's it.
The Zhengzhou campus was operating normally as of Wednesday evening, Foxconn said. The violence had erupted after a portion of recently arrived employees raised complaints about work subsidies, bonuses, or payments on top of usual wages, Foxconn said in a statement. They stressed that they handle all such compensation in strict accordance with its contractual obligations. Quote, with regards to the violence, we are continuing to communicate with workers and the government to avoid a reoccurrence, said the company without elaborating. The rare instances of violence at the plant at the central city of Zhengzhou reflects a buildup of tensions since the lockdown began in October. Many among the vast workforce of more than 200,000 people at the iPhone city have been plunged into isolation, forced to subsist on Spartan meals and scrounge for medication. They're literally trapped at their job. They're living 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at a factory. And as a result, many have fled the plant on foot. This was when it first started popping into the news. We didn't cover it. It was one of the stories we don't get to, right? Like, we don't get to cover everything. But there was a lot in the news about the Foxconn employees just leaving in large numbers. They're like, screw this, we're out of here. And they went with big numbers of people to just run.
I don't blame them. There's not much else they can do. I mean, if you're going to be locked down if you live in China, so at least be locked down in your
house.
That's not good, but it's better than being locked down at your place of employment.
On the other hand, at least you're making some money if you're working, whereas
and nothing
most
to spend
can't.
it on.
Yeah, where do you go with it? What do you do with it? I mean, there are still stores that will, deliver food to your house or whatever if the government lets you, if they let you out to get it.
And if your social credit score is high enough.
Yeah. So that was like an aside, right? So that's what's happening at one of the manufacturing facilities, one of the largest in China. People are so fed up, they're literally running out en masse, and then the so-called security, which are just cops in white uniforms, are literally using truncheons to bash in people's bones to stop them from leaving their jobs. There's more coming up. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people like passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, moments remain here. Enough time for you, though, maybe if you get on the lines right now at 603-283-6160 on this live Thanksgiving Day episode. Here tonight, it's Ian, Joa,
and Aria.
Don't forget, you can join us online over at freetalklive.com and enjoy the features that we have waiting for you. Once again, that is freetalklive.com. We do also have our chat server, and people are in there right now. You can go to chat.freetalklive.com and you'll find the instructions on how to get on that server. Once again, that's chat.freetalklive.com. We're going to go right back into your calls and thoughts, and then maybe some more about the COVID lockdowns that have come back in a big way to China, with now apparently 400 million people in that country, including Beijing, on serious lockdown status. And that, of course, is not going to be good news for anybody that's trying to, get business done, like have things manufactured and shipped globally. We got President DeSantis, one of our chatters in the chat room. He says that people still can't get parts from China. Simple things like knobs keep getting delayed. You need a new knob for your dresser or something.
Is this a joke?
Home. No, he's serious.
Wow.
No, he's
Find someone like Jay Noon, let him know what you need, and he'll make you one.
Sure. You're not going to get the Chinese price for that, though.
No, but you'll get a solid
nice one
made by a friend and a libertarian.
That's
so,
true.
I mean,
Let's
I
go to the
prefer
phones.
that.
I got Kathleen on the line here in Montana. You're on Free Talk Live, Kathleen.
Hi, Ian, and the rest of you.
Hi there. What's on your mind tonight?
I listen to you all the time. I'm calling because I wanted to say I haven't celebrated Christmas in 50 years.
Wow. Okay.
It's just the date on the calendar, and when I was really young, I realized it was totally retail. It was about the money and had nothing to do with religion. And when I heard everything that you guys were saying, I was agreeing wholeheartedly with everything about the stores being open or closed. It's so ridiculous. But when I started studying the Bible, I realized that nowhere in the Bible does it mention that Jesus was born on December 25th.
That's true.
It only mentions his death, Nisan 14. So they think that Jesus was born in October, the rainy season. But,
well, he certainly wasn't born in December. I mean,
isn't it true that the Christians
they would have frozen to death?
Yeah, isn't it true that the Christians basically knocked off the pagans as far as they took all their ideas? There was this big solstice, essentially, celebration. Yes,
it had to do with the solstice. In December.
Do Christians not wonder why they bring an evergreen tree into their home and decorate it? I mean, what part of the story of Jesus do they think that's coming from?
Right.
I don't know. I agree with you on that, too. It's so ridiculous because they incorporated it to get the pagans to come, and I was thinking to myself, wow, 50 years now, I don't miss it one iota. The people that tell me they're in debt in January, February, and March, I said, you don't have to do that. It's just a day on the calendar.
Yeah,
Jesus probably dislikes them for celebrating it. I mean, if there's a Jesus and if Christianity is correct, all of those Christians celebrating Christmas are almost certainly going to hell.
Well, that's quite a few, I would say. But the retail people, it mentions in Revelation when first the church goes down because of teaching these wrong teachings to people. They wonder why people are leaving the church.
Right.
And then a retail will look at this as the church is going down because they know they're next.
Isn't one of the symbolisms of the one of the reasons why the Christmas is celebrated on in December around the 25th or whatever, that essentially the 21st, the solstice, is the return of the sun, right? Like that's when the sun starts coming back.
That's when it's at its lowest
longer.
peak in the southern sky. It was in the vicinity of the constellation, the Southern Cross, where it just hangs there for about 3 days, and then it begins resurrecting, and days begin getting longer again.
The sun is being born. Sun.
Yeah, it has to do with the solstice. That's truly the reason. But see, the pagans way back then with the solstice used to have orgies and all kinds of things going on, and they wanted to incorporate them into the church, so they had to think of a celebration.
So they brought the tree in, but they kept the orgies out.
Well, who knows about that? I'm sure that was going on somewhere.
The mistletoe is there for a reason.
That's a good point.
That's exactly right.
Wow. Kathleen, anything else you want to share tonight?
No, and I'm glad I got through. Thank you so much, Ian, and the rest of you for taking this call.
Yeah, happy to hear from you tonight. Appreciate the thoughts. Let's talk to Jack. He's on the line in Orlando, Florida. Go ahead, Jack.
Hey, how's it going?
What's on your mind tonight?
Well, I just wanted to talk about the charity called Donor C.
Donor C?
Actually I've heard about it on the Tom Woods show, actually.
What is it?
And it's a company, it's a charity where you donate money to people and you actually see where it's going to.
Oh, Donor SEE?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. .com is the website, and you actually get to see where the money is going. And I just thought that was a really good example of like how libertarians can help solve social issues.
Have you tried this thing? Do you have a personal experience with it?
Yes, I did. I actually helped a kid get surgery. He had some kind of like cleft mouth, palate, or something like that. So I was able to help him get surgery, or some kind of dental surgery anyway. But anyway, it was really cool because they show you a video before and after, and then I just think it's really cool, and it's so rewarding to actually see the people that you're helping. So I think it's a lot better to give money to something like this than it is to go to a charity where you don't know where the money's going to.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
I like Give Directly for that reason, but it's also sort of a black hole in that regard, in that you have no idea where it's going. They're just giving cash to people, and yeah, they're using it in the way that you would expect them to improve their lives and make their lives better, but there's no like paper trail or before and after videos or anything along those lines.
Like proof, the person who's raising the money should prove what their money is going, regardless of the website doing it
what this does.
or not. Very cool. And I'm glad there's a site that's fully accountable.
There's another kid who had a hernia, and he needed a surgery to repair that. So I helped with that, and it's just so cool. Like, they're so grateful, and they send you a little video afterwards. And
now, are these happening? Are these international people? Are they local?
Yeah, this is like I think somewhere in Africa or South America. But yeah, really poor areas where they can't really afford medical care or school, and it's like you can pay for, really it's just a whole range of things like school supplies, or helping start a school, or for helping somebody get a bed to sleep on, or it's like, and it's really cool. You get to see them actually actually the money to be put to use. So
that's great, man. Thank you, Jack, for sharing that tonight. Anything else you want to? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I just want to say I really enjoy your show as well.
Thanks.
I actually was talking to Bonnie yesterday on Twitter, and just telling her I was thinking about going up to New Hampshire, and I look forward to coming up there. thinking about quitting my day job and just starting to write. And that's the plan anyway.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, I mean, if you can make life work without the day job and focus on doing the things that you love, and somehow, keep putting food on the table that way, that's, I think, the dream of a lot of people. And
exactly.
Especially if you can do it here in New Hampshire, because then you're going to be around a community of like-minded people.
Yeah, you can write anywhere.
That's what I figured. I could plug right in, and hopefully, with the Liberty Twitter and all that too, and not being suppressed as much as it was, maybe I can kind of grow a following there, and then start writing, and maybe make some money doing that. Maybe start a podcast, or I don't know.
There's no money in podcasting, but hey, we'd be happy to hear another one. I don't know. Maybe there is. It's probably not, though. But I'm sure Joe Rogan's making money. But
yeah, but the market's saturated.
Yeah.
I mean, every white dude with a $5 microphone from Walmart has a podcast.
You can be a reporter and go report on things.
Sure.
You got to set yourself apart. I think that's
true.
What I'm going to try to do.
That's what you got to do. And if you can get donations directly from your listeners, then it might make it worthwhile. Jack, thank you for the call tonight, man. I appreciate hearing from you. Look forward to seeing you up here in New Hampshire. The number is 603-283-6160. So China now has a record number of cases, despite having, quote-unquote, zero COVID as a policy, meaning that they will lock your ass down until, quote-unquote, zero COVID is reached in your neighborhood or in your region of the city. But now there's 31,527 cases as of Wednesday, which is compared with the previous peak in April, back when Shenzhen or whatever it was having the lockdown.
It was winter in China then, though, wasn't it? I thought we established that they were Southern Hemisphere. I don't remember now. Never mind. Disregard.
Anyway, 28,000 was the previous peak. Now it's 31,527. So there's a new peak of number of COVID cases in China.
Watch, going to be a new wave happening here, too.
So instead of admitting that the zero COVID thing has not worked,
lockdowns don't work.
They're just going to double down, and they're going to lock down harder. And now they got 400 million people going through lockdown in China right now, and we don't have the slightest idea of how horrifying this is.
Yeah.
We saw some videos earlier this year, and just imagine how much worse it's going to get. Out of time for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire